All right, welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 World Tour. It's been a long time since we've done this series. I actually tried recording these episodes over the past weekend, but they only recorded in 720p, which is not good enough for me. Now keep in mind my computer is not quite strong enough to handle this game at its max settings and everything like that, so oh my god, about got hit by those two planes just came in. So it'll be a little choppy. The video will be a little choppy. The frame rate won't be great, but it's all right. I can deal with it, and I don't think anyone else really watches. I like to kind of go back and watch some of these old videos every now and then, just as a little time capsule of what was going on when I recorded the episodes. I usually will play podcasts during these. I think today today is Thursday, December 14th. It is 6:26 p.m. where I am recording from, which is Middletown, Rhode Island, very near Newport, Rhode Island. We are taking off from Dublin. So what I've done, I've left live weather on for now. I might change that to clear skies, though it looks like it's pretty decent night in Dublin right now. Change the time to like 10:48 a.m. or something like that, so we can actually see what we're flying over. It's really probably the middle of the night over there. I don't know what the hour difference is, probably 4 or 5 hour difference from Eastern time. So we're going to take off from Dublin, try to get over to the United Kingdom. Probably, let me pull up a map real quick. I think what we'll do is fly over to Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds, maybe go down to Sheffield, Nottingham. We'll see where we land. It probably won't be a super long video today because it is Thursday night. While I'm recording this, I will be watching the NCAA volleyball tournament semifinals. I am from Nebraska and graduated from the University of Nebraska, and Nebraska is playing tonight. They're playing Pittsburgh in the semifinals. Wisconsin is playing Texas in the other semifinal. So I will be chiming in with updates on that probably as we go. And we're going to start out with a podcast as we're flying, as we're taking off from Dublin. I think we're going to start off with the Tony Kornheiser show from yesterday. That would be Wednesday, December 13th. And then if we get through that, I will probably go into the Sharp and the Sharp and Handley show from Omaha, Nebraska. But let's take off here. I just got to send a text real quick before we depart on our flight. Let's get ready to fly. There we go. All right. Let me fire up the Tony Kornheiser show. Oh, we got to adjust the zoom real quick. Hello. There we go. Fire up the engine. Release the parking brake. And this will be the Tony Kornheiser show from Wednesday, December 13th. Here we go.
Hi, it's Tony. On today's show, we'll see if Chuck Todd is smarter than Reginald the Monkey. We think he is, but yes. We'll see. And we'll talk hot stove baseball about Ohtani and Juan Soto with Mark Feinstein. But first, as you know, commerce. Hey, Diane. Holiday shopping? All done, babe. Previously, Tony Kornheiser. It's still available. Maybe I'd be considered the official EFDA, Expanded Functions Dental Assistant of Tony Kornheiser Show. Thanks for the hours of entertainment. Happy brushing. Esperanza Zapata. She sent 2 crests, the kind that I like, the tartar control. She also sent a bunch of gummy bears. She sent Haribo gummy bears, and she sent the gummy bears made in America.
The Albanese, right? Nothing pairs with toothpaste better than gummies, right?
This General George Washington, and you're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show. All right, there's a lot of ways we can begin to... We ate the gummies. Oh, how good were they? Fantastic. Yeah, that's a special... That was a special flavor grouping. Yeah, those gummies. I could taste the mango. Yeah. At least twice a day for me. Yeah. So good. I'm glad. Those are the Albany's. Those were really good. I could go back to the Monday night games. You know, there's a terrible loss for Miami. It's a bad loss for Green Bay. Terrible loss at home for Miami. This is unspeakably terrible. I mean, if you believe in Miami, you cannot believe in them today. Maybe you can, you know, after Sunday. You know, things change, but that was just a terrible loss. So I don't want to do that. I want to do two things that are more current. First is Draymond Green. Draymond Green hit Yusuf Nurkic in the head last night and was tossed out of the game. And I think he's going to say it was an accident. I think he's going to say I was just sort of swinging around. I didn't mean to hit him. Certainly picks up speed. He hit him in the head and knocked him down, and he was tossed out of the game. And, you know, there are certain people that just don't get the benefit of the doubt in physical altercations, and Draymond Green is at the top of the list. I mean, he's at the top of the list. I really like him as a player, but he's going out. And it's a question of how long is he going out for. And you, by the way, if you were Adam Silver and you wanted to do this, you could toss him for the rest of the year. You could. Sure. Because he's already been tossed this year. So you could toss him for the rest of the season. I think it'll be 20 games. I think it'll be something like 20 games. And I assume that we will lead with this tonight on the PTI show because Wilbon will be completely exercised about it. Oh, enjoy your 4-minute break then. Yeah, and he'll just talk. I'll try and get some food. I don't know. Cheese platter for you. I don't know what Draymond Green is going to say. If you looked at the highlights, if you looked when they showed the Warriors bench after it happened, like Klay Thompson just had that look like, oh, not again. No. Are you kidding me? Yeah, again. Yeah. This guy the again. Yeah. So that's what it looked. But you're right. He will say, "Oh no, I was just out of control." But it clearly looks, yeah. And you know, he does not get Dylan Brooks doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. This guy doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. So we'll see what happens with that. Usually in basketball, if they're going to suspend somebody, they suspend them right before the next game. And I don't know if Golden State plays tonight. I don't know if there's a need to suspend him today or if the next Golden State game. You can wait. You can deliberate. You can figure it out. If you're Adam Silver, you sit down in a room with Joe Dumars and a bunch of other people, maybe even the owner of the Golden State Warriors, Joe Lacob, and you say, okay, this is what at the Clippers tomorrow. So they have until tomorrow then. That's easy enough. What I want to get to now is something that has bothered me enormously in the last 24 hours. And it's local for me. It's local. It's Washington, D.C. for me. I had no inclination that this was going on, none whatsoever. That Ted Leonsis, who owns the Washington Wizards and the Washington Capitals and puts them on his television network, Monumental Sports Network, and puts other stuff on that as well, and is trying to buy the baseball team because you want programming on a television network. I had no idea he was playing footsie with the people in Virginia. I had no idea that he was working something out with the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, who I assume they know each other for a while because they were both in the money business. You know, so I assume they know each other. I had no idea that this was going on until I read a Barry's for Luga column a day and a half ago or 2 days ago, and a Washington Post news story that Ted Leonsis was going to move these teams, was certainly thinking of moving his two teams out of the downtown arena in Washington, D.C., and to something located in Virginia. It's very close to Washington, D.C., in Potomac Yards, but it's in Virginia. It's in Virginia. And then there's a story today that Ted Leonsis is going to appear at a function tonight with Glenn Youngkin. They already have the tents up. The tents are up, which means he's going to announce, barring a last-minute Hail Mary from Muriel Bowser and the Communist City Council of Washington, D.C., they vote against everything. They vote against everything in terms of sports expand. They do. They don't want it. They don't want a football stadium. Now they're forced to offer $500 million worth of stuff to Ted Leonsis to stay at the Capital One Arena. But if you read the tea leaves, it just looks like if he shows up at this event with the governor of Virginia, they're not going to have this event if Leonsis isn't ready to move. And I was an English major, so words are important to me. This is villainy. Villainy. Villainy on the part of Ted Leonsis to move these teams out of Washington, D.C. Last time I looked, the capital of the United States of America. It's villainy for a Georgetown grad. Anybody want to tell me where Georgetown in Virginia? I don't think so. I think Georgetown is in Washington, D.C. It's villainy. Don't tell me that there's a lot of money involved and there's profit involved. There's money involved where he is now. You know, if his teams were better, maybe they'd make more money. If his basketball team, which stinks to high heaven, was better, maybe they'd make more money. And I'm sure I can't do what I'm about to say. That if I were the mayor of Washington, I could not do this. But if I could, I would say to him, the moment he announced that he was going, his intention was to go to Virginia. And again, he's not going to Southern Virginia. You know, he's not going far away. It's in this greater metropolitan area. I don't want to pretend that it isn't. And you're going to say to me, well, what about the Giants and the Jets? Well, the Giants and the Jets moved, yes, they moved to the Meadowlands, which is very, very close to New York City, but I don't think that they were in a position to put a new stadium in New York City. I think most of New York City was spoken for.
Yeah, it's a little tough.
I think it was spoken
to wedge it in, yes.
The Capital One Arena is apparently, I read, one of the older arenas in the NBA and the NHL, which surprised me because it just seems like it was built yesterday. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But if Leonsis moves these teams, I would put a padlock on the doors to the Capital One Arena. And I would say, go play at George Mason. Knock yourself out. You want Virginia? Go play in Virginia tonight. Take your teams to Virginia tonight. You got your ice time in Virginia, right? You got your practice ice time in Virginia? Oh, put a couple of folding chairs there.
No, we're sure this is the two big teams and not just the esports franchise?
I don't know. I don't think it's the esports franchise. I think it's the
we
two
can hold on to
big
that.
teams. So now the main tenant would be Georgetown. They'd be the main tenant at the Capital One. And that's what I would do. Because, and I say this as someone who lives and has lived all my time in Washington, D.C., deliberately. Wanted to live in the capital of the United States.
So I think this is where it becomes not just a local story, and I think it's important to remind us where you were when this arena opened. This was 1997, so you saw the development of this.
I did. Dave
You saw
Poland was
firsthand
heroic.
the trickle-down effect as to what it did block by block to the surrounding areas. And you think about the food revitalization of this city and what it did to neighborhoods. And so you sort of have to break this down into business decision where, of course, it's a lot of times easier to build a new house on a site than it is to try and renovate something that exists, and particularly now if you use the Atlanta model and what you can put in terms of shopping and bars and restaurants in that immediate area. And again, they had wanted a stadium on this site many years ago for the football team. But you look at it, you have to break it down between business and the symbolic gesture as to what that site meant as a coming together point for the DMV and more specifically for DC, and really trying to shift the boundaries as to what was be traditionally black DC versus these other, outer bounds of white DC. And it's sad for me because I'm a young millennial, but you think about Gallery Place, you think about the Verizon Center, you think about this area, and it was one of the first places where you'd be going down by yourself on the metro, where you might go to a game by yourself, you might go see a concert, you might go see a wrestling event. And it's sad to see what it means when you have somebody who wants to leave that partnership, and it's a reminder.
It came out of the blue.
It's a reminder. Well, no, because he's always been saying for years that he had the worst mortgage ever. But it's a reminder that you can't sort of tie everything into a stadium solving all of sort of your local problems. This isn't just a COVID kept people from downtown. This seems like it was a long time in the making.
It's I live in Washington, and I know it's not far away, but I want those teams in Washington.
Sure.
And I don't want them to say Washington, even though you can come back at me and you said, well, they said the New York Giants and the New York Jets. I know I have a flag exposed on that. I understand.
Well, no, think about it. Every time there's a primetime football game and you get the flyover of the Capitals and Washington, and then you just sort of have to take a quick 1 mile walk from the metro to the stadium.
And the football team is not in Washington, D.C., but they're going to be back in Washington, D.C. If this happens, this mayor will understand that you have to put the football team here. The football and the baseball teams will be in Washington, D.C. There will be a new stadium at the RFK site. I believe that. I'm not saying that with authority. I'm saying that with conviction. There's a difference. I don't have any authority. I have nothing to do with that. But I think they'll both be there. And I will say this, and I'm not the first person to say this, that the crowds at basketball and hockey games, they're not close to the numbers of football and baseball games if a team is doing well. They're not close. They max out at about 17,000 or 18,000 or something like that. It's a third of a football thing. It's half of a baseball thing if those sports are going well. I don't know how much money you make selling hockey and basketball. I'm not certain of that. I'm really not. I am certain of football and baseball when it's good. I'm certain of that. So, I don't know if... I'm angered. I'm saddened. I think it's villainous. I do. I mean, I never expected this. And you're saying, Michael, that there have been hints for years, and I just think in terms of the mortgage line. But you think this is a statement that basically says the economic power of the general DMV is now Northern Virginia, which you've seen with Tech, and you've seen with Crystal City just up the road. But I hope you're not trying to catch a 7 p.m. regional flight out of DCA, because it might be a little harder to get to the airport.
Yeah, I just feel like maybe, and this also as a DC resident, that before making a move like this, Leonto said, look, I want to stay here, but X, Y, and Z need to be done by this date or I'm going to leave. Yeah. This just feels, I mean, it's not...
This feels fait accompli, much quicker than you thought,
And it's not like the Mayflower trucks, in the middle of the night, but it's not far from that, as far as I'm concerned.
Now, if I lived in Virginia, maybe I would feel differently. But I don't live in Virginia. I live in Washington, and I don't like this. I mean, I really... don't like this, and I had no particular indication it was coming in. I always thought of him as a DC guy.
Yeah, right, but then you look at Georgetown. If you were the steward of these franchises and you look at basketball, where you say basketball, it's such a small arena experience. It is primarily something that is, experienced through TV, but then also through the practice sites, and famously they're not able to have their practice facilities at the same site as the actual...
Their practice site is in Washington.
It is in Washington. It's on the other side of the river.
And that's where the Mystics play.
But then you look at it with the hockey team, how much data has that company, compiled over the years as to here's where our core season ticket holder is coming from, and here's how we can serve that,
One silver lining is that if this does go down like this, maybe Jingle Fest 2024 could use the Verizon Center. Be a nice venue.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll have, is it Fine Sand or Chuck Todd? Chuck Todd is first.
Chuck Todd, yes.
Chuck Todd, when we return, I'm Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is a solo stove read, and it's a little bit different. The copy was written for me as if I was some sort of hipster. You people know I'm not, but let's take a run at it. Recently, the West Coast legend himself, Snoop Dogg, announced that he's done with smoke. It's over. He's eliminating it. How could it be that the dog father, who once famously urged us to smoke every day, could now be giving it up? Well, we've now learned, as it turns out, that he's going smokeless, joining forces with the makers of the world's most popular smokeless fire pit, Solo Stove, and has even been coined their official spokesperson. It wouldn't be Snoop if he didn't drop it like it's hot. God, am I too old for this? Which is exactly what he's doing with the Snoop Stove, a limited edition bonfire fire pit. Designed by Snoop himself, each custom fire pit comes with a going smokeless bucket hat and a limited run of stickers. Can someone in the studio please order me one before they sell out? I've seen him in commercials. Yeah. He does everything now.
He does.
He became friendly with Martha Stewart.
Yeah, very good friends.
It changed the whole arc of his career.
Yeah.
And now he does Monday Night Football, right? Doesn't he do the pregame song on Monday Night Football?
Oh, I think you're right,
He
yes.
does everything.
Yeah, the Corona ads,
You understand he was a football coach at one point. He coached his kid.
Did not know that.
His kid was a scholarship player at either USC or UCLA. Oh, yeah. Run, don't walk to solostove.com to pick up the limited edition pit and join Snoop in going smokeless for good.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
I read a note from our friend Michael Granberry. I first came across the music of Robbie Hecht when I heard his terrific cover of one of the better but lesser-known songs by the great Jackson Browne. It's Two of Me, Two of You, which appears on Jackson's 1993 album, I'm Alive. Then I discovered that Robbie has performed duets with several of my favorite artists and friends, including Liz Longley and Amy Speace, both of whom are musical alumni of the Tony Kornheiser Show. That made me pay closer attention to Robbie's music. And now, as far as I'm concerned, Robbie is the master of the duet. He released Two of Me, Two of You on a solo album about 2 years after recording a mesmerizing album of duets with Caroline Spence, titled fittingly Two People. One of my favorites, Robbie now makes his home in Nashville, as does Caroline. His 2019 album, Mint Condition, was hailed by Rolling Stone as a gorgeous reflection on finding peace amid upheaval. They are singing together, Robbie Hecht and Caroline Spence, on A Night Together. It's beautiful. But Michael Granberry never fails us. He never fails us. You know, and they play in Chuck Todd, and I should say this because they pay me to say it. This week's picks with Chuck Todd and Reginald the Monkey are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Chuck won last week. He was 4-3. He had the big winner on Monday night. The Dallas, was it Monday night or Sunday? It was Sunday.
That was Sunday,
Had the big winner save the day with Dallas. He's now 55, 41-2, which is the best record of anybody, including Simeons, who picked for us. So if you're betting with Chuck Todd, you're making money. You should feel very good about that, Chuck.
Well, I do. I got a little trash talk in here. So Carvel and I have plenty of friends in common.
Right.
I'd imagine. And one of our political science friend of ours, UMass, he emails me and he said, hey, and he had done this survey and I'd written a column about it. And he goes, I sent Carvel this. And Carvel, and he asked him, he was taunting Carvel about the fact, he goes, isn't Chuck beating you this year in the picks? And he goes, no, for the second year in a row, no one close to the Cajuns.
No, that's not true. That's just not true.
And he goes, I was 19-1 on Kornheiser last week.
He was
Chuck Todd, no catch me.
He was 6-1.
That's what he wrote.
Well,
He was 6-1.
He has these triple plays,
Yes.
quadruple plays.
No, he had one double play.
Well, he's counting.
He had one double play.
19-1 is what he tells me. I didn't know he
What?
Well, he's counting the Heisman Trophy winner that he took at 12
Oh, well, that's ridiculous.
Well, he's getting 12 points for that. Look
No.
at this.
No, that's as the commissioner. No,
All right.
no. He was 6-1 though. He had a great week.
Yeah, it was a terrific week.
No doubt. Yeah, but it's like 19-1. All right, anyway, so every one of my wins, triple play.
All right, here we go. We start with a couple of Saturday games because now the college football is off the board. The NFL goes to Saturday. We start with Minnesota plus 3.5 at Cincinnati. Minnesota has dumped Josh Dobbs because Josh Dobbs was a great story for 2 weeks and then came back to earth. Cincinnati, wow, I thought they were absolutely cooked without Joe Burrow, but they've won a couple of times. It's a Saturday game. If you like Minnesota, you get 3.5.
So I don't love Minnesota here, but this feels like 3.5 is too much for Jake Brown. Right? That's a lot. Flores, Brian Flores took over the defense for Minnesota. I mean, you shut out any NFL team, and that's a big deal. I mean, they
3-0. It's the worst game ever.
It was absolutely
Worst indoor game ever.
indoors too,
Yeah.
right? To think weather didn't cause that, I guess just Vegas hangovers caused that or something. I'm going to take the hook. I'm going to take 3.5. I'm going to take Minnesota.
Okay. The next
And it's
Saturday.
more of just sort of buying low or buying, selling high on the Bengals.
The next game is also a Saturday game. Denver is at Detroit. Detroit is not in good shape. They're not in good shape. They had to manufacture a win a couple of weeks ago, and other than that, they lose. They've lost 3 out of 4, I believe, and it could have been 4 out of 4. Denver is getting 5. Denver has turned its season around. It's not even the same team remotely that it was at 0-3 when Miami rolled it for 70 points. If you like Denver, indoors in Detroit probably needs this game desperately. You get 5.
Well, Detroit doesn't need this game as badly as they would have had the Packers.
That's right.
Because I think
That's right.
now the division, despite this swoon,
Yeah.
they had built such a lead in the division that, this would have been it could have been down to a 2-game lead, but now it's 3. So, I I just don't think Denver can keep up scoring-wise. When Detroit's at home, they put on a lot of points. I know they can give up a lot of points. You think Russell Wilson can score 28 points?
Hasn't.
Yeah, and that's where I'm going to struggle there. I'm going to take Detroit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tampa Bay, which is in first place in the worst division in all of sports. Tampa Bay is getting 3.5 at Green Bay. Green Bay, that's a bad loss. The Giants stink. That's a bad loss, but it's on the road, so maybe you can excuse it, although it's just a bad loss. Jordan Love was okay. Wasn't bad, but he wasn't very good either. Tampa Bay had a miracle win the other day. Tampa Bay 3.5, if you like that number.
All I keep thinking is the great line from Bill Parcells. You are what your record says you are.
Yeah.
And the Packers are 6-7.
Yeah.
And they, you know what? They played like a 6-7 team against the Giants. You're like,
Terrible.
couple quarters they're great, couple quarters they're terrible.
Not as bad as Miami. That's the worst loss of the year. That's the worst loss of the year.
No doubt. I know I've done this with you before, but anytime the Packers and the Buccaneers play, I just think of Pete Exxon, because he one time nicknamed this the Bay of Pigs.
Yes, the Bay of Pigs.
Back in the 80s, when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were a Midwestern city and in the NFC Central, for whatever reason, and the Packers and the Buccaneers used to play every year. Let's just say back in the 80s, this was a game that was always at 1 o'clock and was only in 2 markets.
Yeah.
Look, because the Packers are this zigzaggy, give me them to lay the points here.
All right. Here is your worst nightmare. Washington's back on the schedule.
Yeah.
You keep losing whenever you bet for them, whenever you bet against them. You lose no matter what happens. They're getting 7 at the LA Rams. The LA Rams have sort of resuscitated themselves a little bit. They're in the NFC playoff picture. Washington is not. Washington getting 7, going across the country.
If you're the Eagles or Cowboys and you end up the 2 seed or the 3 seed, actually I think in this case you could. You want to see the Rams in that first playoff game?
No.
You want to see a team that won a Super Bowl?
No.
You want to see McVay, like, they feel like that team that you're like, they're going to limp in the playoffs, and if they ended up suddenly being the team in the NFC title game, it wouldn't shock me. Look, give me the Rams. I can't imagine Washington's going to do well here. And unlike every other team that goes to LA, do you think they'll have the crowd showing up for them?
No.
Do you think Washington travels to this game?
No. No, nobody thinks that. No. Nobody will be in that game.
All right. No.
Here's a good game. Dallas at Buffalo. Dallas coming off a great win. Buffalo coming off a great win, actually. Both teams. Buffalo needs it more. This is Buffalo's last really tough game, I believe. Or maybe not. No, because they have the Dolphins twice. Or at least once. They have the Dolphins at least once. This is a game that people are going to watch. Dallas plus 2.5. That surprises me a little because of the way Dallas beat Philadelphia. It surprises me. Dallas plus 2.5 at Buffalo.
Isn't this the same thing like the week of San Francisco going to Philadelphia and they were favored, and you're just going, wow.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, I get Dallas won their big game. They're going to have a small letdown. Buffalo has to win, right? I understand the theory as to why we're in this spot. By the way, did you fall into the rabbit hole on Sean McDermott and that whole bizarre?
No, I've never said a word about it on the air. No, never said a word about it. No.
All right. Am I not to be bringing it up?
No, you can bring it up. You can say what.
Just weird.
Yeah, this happened 4 years ago, kids.
Well, what do you make of the fact that it's coming out now?
I can only conclude that there is someone who doesn't like Sean McDermott and decided to publicize this. Because if it was done by the team, then it would be the precursor to letting him go.
I have no idea whether he's the source of the story or not.
I don't know.
But Ken Dorsey was fired mid-season, and 2 weeks later, this story shows up.
Okay.
I'm not saying nothing. I'm just saying this is what happens when you start firing people.
Yeah.
Maybe they start talking on that front. Give me the. I'm not gonna bet against the odds people on this one. All the money's going to Buffalo. I'm not getting in front of that freight train. Give me the Bills.
Okay. The Baltimore Ravens, who are currently the number 1 seed in the AFC, are at Jacksonville, a team that could have been the number 1 seed in the AFC. Jacksonville's quarterback played last week. This is a Sunday night game, I believe. Jacksonville's one of those teams you can't trust, but you can't trust Baltimore either.
Exactly what I was thinking.
You can't trust Baltimore either. You can't. Lamar Jackson may, in fact, be a singular talent. He gets hurt, and then sometimes late in games, he fumbles or he gets picked, and something happens, and you go, how did that happen? So I don't know. Baltimore is the 3.5-point favorite on the road.
You cannot picture them winning 3 straight in the playoffs, can you?
No, I cannot.
Yeah, I can't either.
I can
They
picture
beat
Kansas
anybody.
City, but I cannot picture them.
Yeah, I mean that Rams-Ravens game was fun. I enjoyed watching it. It's nothing like a walk-off punt, right? And yet, how did they end up in that situation? Right? It just doesn't feel like that game ever should have been that way. But I'm with you. I don't trust Jacksonville, and I in theory, Baltimore is better on offense and defense than Jacksonville, just across the board.
That's right.
If they can put the game together, give me the Ravens.
Okay. One last game. Philadelphia. Their schedule. They had 4 games in a row that were simply brutal. Going 2-2 in those games is not bad. It's not. It's not the doom for the Philadelphia Eagles. They've been a good team for 2 years. They've proved it over 2 years. They are at Seattle. This is a Monday night game, so the travel, they're not going to be on a body clock situation that necessarily hurts them. I don't know what Seattle has left. Philadelphia is a 4-point favorite on the road.
Yeah, I think this is a shorter line than I would expect it, and it's simply because they've lost 2 in a row.
Yes.
But Seattle seems beaten up. Seattle seems like a team that's running out of gas.
That's what I think.
And not only that, the travel is mitigated by the extra day of rest, which I bet you the Eagles really kind of needed. One more day in the ice bath is probably a good idea. Give me the Eagles on the road.
Yeah, I would do that too. I would do that too. Those are the 2 games you want to see. Well, actually, the last 3 you want to see: Dallas, Buffalo, Baltimore, Jacksonville, Philadelphia, Seattle. Yeah, you want to see one of those games. They're good games.
At this point, and with is it 14 teams, 6-7, 7-6?
There's a tremendous amount of teams in that little valley, and that's what makes the 17-game schedule pretty good this year. Because we're
it keeps everybody in it.
Yeah,
I mean, as a Packer fan, I was out of it 3 weeks ago. Right? I thought, no way, they're 3-6.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Well, and they went 3-4, and you're like, oh, well.
All you have to know about football this year is the New York Giants, who stink, are in the playoff picture. They're 1 game out.
Yeah.
They're terrible.
I'm sorry, I said this to Nigel. I'm sorry, on Monday night, because I'm such a Packer fan, every time they showed that agent, that like swingers wanted, they kept showing that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know which game you watched of the 2 games.
I went back and forth. I did.
Yeah. They kept showing the agent with the parents, which I think would have been fantastic if you weren't the team playing them. Like, we just found ourselves going, man, I wish that guy like to knock the hat off of that swingers wannabe, type of thing. It really just sort of, and yet I'm sure it was like, if you didn't care about the game, you're like, oh, give me more of that guy, Tommy DeVito at his Swingtown pal.
That was amazing. Thank you, Chuck. Talk to you.
All right, fond you. See ya.
Yeah, Chuck Todd, boys and girls. If we gave you Chuck Todd, it'd be more than enough, but we give you a monkey.
See the monkey, he's scratching, watching his iPad, smoking and laughing, hanging with Bud Grant, tapping on his purple
Sing along, everybody.
Nigel's going to the zoo. Reginald's got the vice mind too. Sometimes he throws his boo, and he's had too much Johnny Walker Blue.
Now, Reginald had a tough week. He had gone 2 or 3 weeks in a row going 2-1, then he went 1-2. He's 17, 24-1.
Still,
He's losing.
He's
the
losing.
only person. Well, he's not a person.
Yeah, the only simian.
He's the only prognosticator who is losing for us. The only one.
Still a path to Mount 500,
Yes, sure.
but he's got to turn it around now. And of course, I mean, he's always so distracted. I went down to the National Zoo, and they were in the midst of their final dress rehearsal for the performance of the National Zoo likes to put on every year, the production of A Christmas Carol.
Christmas Carol.
It's a wonderful cast. Gabe Kaplan is Bob Cratchit, Melissa McCarthy as the Ghost of Christmas Past, Elliot Gould as Ebenezer Scrooge. So,
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Melissa McCarthy, what happened to her?
She's still
Was
out
she
there.
in every movie? Was she funny?
Yeah, she's still funny.
Was she funny?
But she did one of those runs where she made like 14 movies in 2 years.
Yeah. Now nothing.
Nah, we haven't seen anything from it.
Yeah.
So it took time. And by the way, the production of this, I believe, will be available on News Channel 8 this weekend.
That's
so
great to
make sure everyone watches
Great
that.
to know.
So the first match we gave Reginald was Denver getting 5 at Detroit. He showed me a lovely photograph of him skydiving with Carl Mecklenburg, Jason Elam, and Steve Atwater. That tells me he's got ties to the Denver area, and he will take the Broncos with the 5.
Okay.
Next match we gave him was the Washington football team getting 7 on the road at the Rams. And he showed me a picture of him eating at, I believe it's called Vines, or The Vines, in Los Angeles.
Don't know.
Roman Gabriel, Steve Sachs, and Jack Youngblood.
He's going to take the Rams.
He's going to take the Rams.
I don't know how you can take Washington in this situation. I just don't. I really
can't. Yeah.
I mean, maybe they'll win, but it feels like it's done.
It does. It certainly does.
Feels like it's done for them.
Yes. Well, wasn't that the Montez Sweat said about, being with the Bears? Yeah, my old team, yeah. They were already looking at the offseason. That was weeks ago, so, yeah. And the final match we gave him was Dallas getting 2.5 at the Bills. And this was just a lovely photograph of Reginald in the director's chair for the episode of Who Shot J.R. Ewing in that wonderful series, Dallas. So, tells me he's got ties to the Cowboys.
What's his name? Patrick Duffy?
Patrick Duffy in that show as well.
Patrick Duffy was in that show.
Yes.
Right. Wasn't he the star?
I thought
Larry Hagman.
Larry Hagman was with
Patrick
JR.
Duffy, were they the stars?
I believe they were.
Okay.
It's been a while.
All right, that's great. This week's picks with Chuck Todd and Reginald the Monkey have been brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. And we will be back with Mark Feinstein. We're going to talk about Ohtani. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is the Indochino read. Nothing feels quite like giving the perfect gift, and no gift fits more perfectly than an Indochino suit. They're made to measure, they're totally customizable. With endless options, you choose your own cut, fabric, lining, and more to create the suit of your dreams at a surprisingly affordable price. Or you can give an Indochino gift card for that perfect fit gift, or use the code TONYK at Indochino.com to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. I am surrounded by people who have Indochino suits.
Yes, I have the Aerogate in a nice charcoal gray, which is perfect for this time of year as you're going from event to event for school or for holiday parties.
Yeah, I love my suits. I need to get another one. I want to get a candy cane suit. Just design it
like the liner, like full suit.
You
never go full suit.
Yeah, we'll start with the lining and see if it's a hit, and then we'll go full suit if we need to.
It's hard to see you coming with a candy cane suit, huh? Like nobody would go, who's that? Indochino makes getting measured easy. You can set up your measurement profile in less than 10 minutes. You can either measure yourself from the comfort of your own home, as Nigel did, or you can make an appointment at one of their showrooms. From timeless classics to bold statements, express your style exactly how you want. With new colors, fabrics, and outerwear styles, it's easy to create your next look. Plus, you can choose the customizations you want, from buttons and vents to pockets and lapels to candy cane lining. Select your style. They will build it. Give a perfect gift with Indochino. Go to Indochino.com. Use the code TONYK to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. That's 10% off at INDOCHINO.com with the code TONYK. Use the code, people.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show. Tony Kornheiser Show.
Once again, our thanks to Michael Granberry for sending us this music from Robbie Hecht and Caroline Spence. Caroline Spence takes the lead on this duet. This is called I'll Keep You. Really? Michael, if people like Robbie Hecht and Caroline Spence want to send us their original music, or at least give us permission to play their original music, how do they do it?
Send us your music by emailing it to jingles@TonyKornheiserShow.com. And holidays are just around the corner.
What do we
still
got?
have TK Frost, I believe, available at JohnnyO.com. Pick up your holiday sweaters and button-downs.
In honor of Frost Delay at Columbia Golf Course every single week, every single day. It's always Frost Delay.
No cards.
You know how I know that it's Frost Delay? Because I look out the window at 6:30 and there's a load of ice on my car window. And I know it's Frost Delay. This plays in Mark Feinsand, and we have talked about Shohei Ohtani with Jeff Passan, and now we're going to talk about it with Mark Feinsand. The details of Ohtani's contract, many of them have come out. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me a couple of things. It tells me that the Dodgers really wanted this guy. It tells me that Ohtani really wanted the Dodgers, and that he really wanted the Dodgers to be able to sign another player during his 10 years there, rather than taking up, likely what would have been 25% of their payroll if he was actually counting $70 million against the books every year in terms of the CBT. Now with all the deferrals, which, they're staggering. 680 of the 700 million are being deferred for 10 years. But with those deferrals, it brings the present day value of the contract down to $460 million over 10 years, which means the Dodgers only take a $46 million hit on the luxury tax each year, and that will enable them to go out and, spend an additional $25+ million on other players. Ohtani wants to win. He's never been in the playoffs, and this is his chance.
I'm going to raise an issue here that I'm sure you have thought about. Is this an unfair competitive advantage for the Dodgers? Is it something a commissioner would step in and say, no, this is a direction we don't really want to go?
Well, it's in the CBA that this is completely legal. A player is allowed to defer as much money as he wants to in his contract in any deal. So, it's actually written language into the collective bargaining agreement. That said, most players would never do this because they want the money now, and rightfully so. But when you're Ohtani and you're making $40-50 million in endorsements, you probably don't need the Dodgers money to pay your monthly electric bill. So, I think when you look at Ohtani's in a unique situation now, it came out that the Giants offered him the exact same deal with the exact same deferred money and everything. So I think this was a way that Ohtani and his agent came up with to get a number, $700 million, that was eye-popping. We knew he was going to break the record for the biggest baseball contract ever. I don't think anybody, after the Tommy John surgery, anticipated $700 million. But other teams could have done this deal as well. I think this was a way for Ohtani to make sure that he went to the team he wanted to go to. I'm not saying every team could have done this, but there are 10 teams in baseball that could have done this exact same deal without any problem at all.
It's so much money, isn't it?
Yeah, especially once he retires, or maybe not retires.
It's just 4 years ago that Bryce Harper set a record by getting $330 million. This is more than double that in the blink of an eye.
Well, it is and it isn't. And I think when you look at the 700 million number just stands out as being so absurdly high. But again, the present day value of the contract, he's going to be making $2 million a year from now till the end of the contract. Right. Then when the contract's over, the Dodgers will be paying him $68 million a year between 2034 and 2043. Now, it's only 10 years from now, and I'm saying, well, $68 million still sounds like a lot of money then, but if they were to take the $460 million, which is the present day value of the contract right now, and invest it, just basic investment, it would turn into $680 million. So in the 10 years. So he's really getting paid a present day value of 460. He's just waiting a decade, and it's going to be the money now that will be invested will turn into that 680 that he'll get after the contract's over. The other sort of brilliant thing about this, presumably he'll be living back in Japan once he stops playing baseball here. He will not be subject to California state taxes.
Well, I asked about that. I was under the impression that if you signed the deal in California, that in perpetuity, once you got that money, you were going to be subject to California tax, and you're saying that's not true?
Well, okay, now let me take that back, because I am definitely not an accountant. So, somebody had told me the opposite, but I will...
Well, maybe, but it's out on the table. It's
out on the table.
It's out on the table, yeah, because I wondered... What I said on PTI yesterday was, look, we're not smart enough to know the tax implications of this, and whether or not by the end of the deal it's the greatest deal of all time. We're not that smart. We're not even close to that smart. But here's a question I got. What if you can't pitch? Then you're paying a hitter $30 million more than you're paying Aaron Judge.
Yes, I keep going back to it. I keep having to try to sort of like put it in my own head and think of it as a current. The Dodgers right now are basically paying $460 over 10, which is, Judge got 9 for $360.
Yeah.
So you're still paying him more than Judge. I think there's a bit of a leap of faith here that he's going to be able to come back from this Tommy John surgery, his second Tommy John surgery, and be as good as he was before. If not, if he comes back and it turns out that he can't pitch, then he'll be vastly overpaid. Although, I will say, the money that he brings into a club, the revenue he brings in terms of jersey sales, merchandise sales, sponsorship deals from Japan. I mean, get ready. Dodger Stadium is going to be covered in Japanese next year with sponsorship deals from a number of companies in Japan. So the money that he brings in is probably exponentially higher than the money that any other player brings with them when they join a new club. I mean, Aaron Judge is a great player. The companies that sponsor the Yankees and do the sponsorship deals already did that. So, you were keeping them, but I don't think that, people were going to be taking their billboards off the outfield wall because Aaron Judge left. Ohtani brings with him a bulk of revenue that will help pay for the contract.
Yeah. Your feeling is Ohtani always wanted the Dodgers, right?
Always. That was the one team that, they've made it clear for 2 years that they've been squirreling their nuts with the idea of, we're going to pay this guy. And they did. And I think Ohtani loves Southern California. I mean, somebody told me he's building like a $12 million house in Newport Beach. Now, Newport Beach to LA for a daily commute, not so great. Certainly better than Newport Beach to Toronto. But I think, Southern California, he's comfortable there. He likes it there. And, the Angels weren't going anywhere to get them to the playoffs. They tried this year. They did their best at the trade deadline. Didn't work out. The Dodgers have won the division 10 of the last 11 years. They're in the playoffs every single year. They've been to the World Series a number of times in that stretch. I just think he wants to win, and if he can get paid, $70 million a year to do it, even better.
Let me get to the $700 million again. And there's a great skill in saying it's not really $700 million. But let's say it is $700 million. And it's so much higher than anything else. A vacuum is created between the next highest contract, Mike Trout's, I believe, and then all the way up to $700 million. What happens with the next set of signees, specifically, I guess, Juan Soto? Can he now expect $600 million, or is this is just stands out there and it's never going to be replicated?
I won't say never, because never's a long time, and I remember, hearing about Kirby Puckett becoming
$3 million.
It was Kirby Puckett was the first $3 million player, and thinking to myself, oh my God, that's so much money.
Yeah.
And now like your last guy on your team makes $3 million. So I don't want to say never. Anytime soon, I don't think so. I think this deal actually will not impact Juan Soto's negotiations at all, as much as Scott Boras might hope that it will. The comps there are still going to be Judge. It's still going to be, really the comps are going to be Machado and Harper, because of the age that Juan Soto is going to reach free agency at. Harper got 330, Machado got 300 at the time. I think you're looking at Soto's definitely going to leap over 400, assuming that he has a good year with the Yankees this year. Could he get towards 500? I guess so. It depends how competitive the market is for him. I don't think he gets much more than, my guess is 4 to 450 is probably where he lands, because Ohtani is such a different creature. I mean, unless Soto learns how to pitch and goes 130 innings this year, I don't, and plus, and then what I said before about the marketing opportunities, Juan Soto's a great player, but he's not bringing, $40 or $50 million in revenue with him to a club in terms of, forget ticket sales, forget just sponsorships, and if you can pay for half or more of the contract off of the revenue you're going to bring in just from this guy, that makes it a little easier to swallow. Juan Soto's not going to do that. Aaron Judge didn't do that. Almost no player does that other than Ohtani. Ichiro probably had that kind of effect back in, the early 2000s. But I think this deal will not have any direct correlation on what
agents. Are there any free agents still out there unsigned that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, well, the other Japanese player who's been holding up the market, Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Well, but he's never played here before, so
He's never played here before, but he's going to get more money than everybody else. And there are teams lining up right now. This week he's been meeting with, he met with the Yankees, he's meeting with the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Blue Jays. There's a number of teams, the Mets, who seem to be, in most people's eyes, the favorites. Steve Cohen and David Stearns flew to Japan to meet with him. They didn't want to wait for him to get to the United States. So sort of a show of how important he is to them. I expect this is going to wind up as a bidding war between the Yankees and Mets, with the Dodgers sort of lying in wait to see if they can pounce as well. But he's going to go to a big market, and from everything I've heard from people who have seen him pitch up close, he's going to be worth it. Cody Bellinger's still out there. Now that Ohtani is done, he can sort of find a home. Matt Chapman, the third baseman. Blake Snell, the Cy Young Award winner in the National League, who people are just sort of forgetting about completely because he does not have a great history of throwing a lot of innings other than his 2 Cy Young seasons. So there are still some guys out there, but it felt coming into this like this whole winter was going to be about Ohtani and Juan Soto, and they're both settled.
it's interesting you said that about innings. The birthday today on PTI is Ferguson Jenkins, and there's one year, his Cy Young year, he had 325 innings. Blake Snell, I think, had 180, right? I think that's...
Blake Snell has thrown 180 innings in each of his 2 Cy Young awards.
Yeah,
180 and I think 180.2. Besides those 2 years, he's never thrown more than 129 innings in a season.
Yeah, and Fergie Jenkins and all of those guys, Gibson and Koufax and Palmer and Seaver, they were over 300 innings by September 1st every year, right?
Yeah, you just don't see that. And now, if you get guys at 200 innings now for a season, you're like, wow, that guy's a workhorse.
Yeah,
and
really so
it's really staggering to see how pitching has changed. And I think it's part to do with the way they're brought up and the way that they're introduced into the game. And part of it is that the bullpen has become such a specialized thing that when you've got 4 or 5 guys waiting in the bullpen who each throw 100 with nasty splitters and sliders, why are you going to try to stretch out a guy?
Yeah.
And the analytics have shown the third time. We've gone over this. Ask Wilbon, he can tell you all about it.
He hates it so much. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Tony.
Mark Feinstein, boys and girls. We will take a break, email, and jingle. When we return, I'm Tony Kornheiser.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show. Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is the Etsy read. It's the holiday season. I want to talk to you about Etsy. Etsy's the place you'll want to go to find handcrafted, affordable gifts made by independent sellers. Whether you're searching for custom home pieces like cutting boards or linens, throw pillows, or personalized items like purses, necklaces, seasonal jackets for your most stylish friends and family, Etsy has it. If you're looking for something for the home chef in your life, like serveware, cookware, Etsy has it. Maybe you're hunting for style pieces like rings, clutches, seasonal jackets for that trend-setting special someone. Etsy has it for all budgets and any gifting mission. I like that phrase, gifting mission. I don't really know what it means.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
Sounds good. Are you new to Etsy? Use the code HOLIDAY10 for 10% off your first purchase. That's the code HOLIDAY10. Maximum discount value of $50. This expires... Are you enjoying this? You are? A little bit. This expires December 31st, 2023. So that's in about 3 weeks. See the terms at etsy.com/terms. For handcrafted and affordable gifts for everyone on your list, Etsy has it. Shop Etsy.com.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show. Tony Kornheiser Show.
should be handing out towels after that. It's so liquid. Jeremy Vint, it's just so great.
Could use that every night before bath time.
Just so great. You want to do the Bethesda
For the
Bagel
kids.
ad for us? Not
Bethesda Bagels, we love them, you will as well. Just go to BethesdaBagels.com for the location in the DC area nearest you, then pop on in, and you will be thrilled.
We're just about done. Before we get to the mailbag, let me just say I may not always love you, but as long as there are stars above you, you never need to doubt it. I'll make you so sure about it. God only knows what I'd be without you. That's Brian Wilson. A lot of people think that's his masterpiece.
Including
God only knows.
Including someone named Paul McCartney.
Yeah. My favorite song is Don't Worry Baby, but this is a great, great song. Thanks to our guests today, Chuck Todd, Mark Feinsand. Thanks to today's sponsors. Remember, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Odyssey. If you get the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. From Ann Gilpin, tickled pink to be recognized as the mother of my children. My third child, Harry, a masculine child, also went to Loomis Chafee. He's now in Denver snowboarding and teaching autistic children. Tony may remember me as Ann McDonough when I was in The Foreigner on Broadway, and we failed to meet after the show. I still work. I was in Uncle Vanya this summer in a downtown loft. COVID and the strikes were a complete bummer, but my husband Jack Gilpin plays a butler named Church on The Gilded Age. Pray that it gets renewed for a third season. Even though he went to Loomis, I guess it's called Loomis. That's how they call it.
Loomis Chafee.
But I guess they just refer to it as Loomis.
That's what the hip kids do.
Yeah,
yes.
even though he went to Loomis, Ann writes, I lost respect for Saliza years ago. When on your podcast, he didn't know that George III was the king of England during the American
As Saliza would say, words hurt.
From Charlie Burt's in Springfield, Virginia, I'm pleased to announce that the Katherine Johnson Middle School Band, the official middle school band of the Tony Kornheiser Show, will be performing the national anthem before the December 26th Washington Wizards game. Please join us at the Capital One Arena as we honor America before enjoying an evening of watching the Orlando Magic drop 180 points or so. If we're really lucky, we'll get a lacheserie from the crowd or maybe even a mention of the show from the announcer. We'll save you a seat, Tony. So look forward to some sweet upper-level action, in addition to no need for parking thanks to your spot on the school bus. See you then. And I would do it if I didn't think that it was villainy that Ted Leonsis was going to move the team. And if I could do this, I would tell him for the rest of time, starting tonight, if this announcement is made today, for the rest of time, you can play at George Mason because you're not playing downtown because the arena's closed to you.
Yeah.
If I had that power, I would use that power. There's another one from Charlie.
You're not going to support the Potomac Yards Wizards?
I'm not. They better not be named Washington.
No, yeah.
Capitals and the Wizards better
Washington adjacent?
not. You know,
What was the ABA Virginia team? Was it the Squires?
Sydney Squires.
Yeah.
That was in Southern Virginia.
Right.
That really was. With 3 different sites in Southern Virginia. Another one from Charlie Burt's. Did the Dodgers bother to use the code? That's funny. From Keith Hall in Fairfax, Virginia. I listened to your conversation with Jeff Passan on Monday's show. Suddenly realized that Mr. Passan was spot on. In 10 years, when Otani goes to the Duncans in Revere, instead of paying $4.50 for a cup of Joe, it could be spiking upwards to $450,000 for the same cup from 2023. Adding in the 30% tip that will then be recommended, the poor guy will be paying $585K for that drink. He may question if he should squander for that $100K glazed donut or if he should just be penny-wise instead. By the way, I'm still in no other professional athlete still get meal money from the teams. Thanks for all that you do.
Per diem.
From Mark Lynch in Canby, Indiana. Are you Benjamin Button? Getting back into the studio periodically, watching your first new movie in years. You're getting younger right before our ears. Next, you'll be flying or watching fireworks from the Smithsonian, or dare I say, covering a Commanders playoff run. I look forward to the years ahead. From Damon in Seattle, Washington. Air was released in the spring and was nominated for a Golden Globe today. I also got this from Jan, and so was Mark Damon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, he was nominated too, apparently. Chance at this.
well,
I'm
that's
an
great.
Oregon kid. Damon writes that Damon. So that's how I got that confused, because it's Damon. I'm an Oregon kid, so I enjoyed seeing the Nike story on the big screen. I'd also recommend The Holdovers for you. Everyone says this. The film is set during the 70s at a Boston boarding school. Paul Giamatti portrays a curmudgeon professor dealing with a troubled student. Please ask Ann Hornaday about the film when you have her on. Let me know if you need more.
Is Nigel the troubled student?
It feels like I may have been. I just saw the trailer. I cannot wait to watch it. It looks really good. I think you'll...
Don't be late for study hall.
From Win Mosman, or Win Mossman's slug, Tony's Nightmare, Pumpkin Ice. From Chad Hogue in Knoxville, Tennessee. Andrew Carton listens to the show one day and has his email read the next day. I knew a guy who listened since faxes were a thing. He's never had an email read. Eat it, Fred Cleland. From Mark Lynch. Canby, Indiana. Is Canby, Indiana becoming a thing here. This is the second one today. Tell Nigel I popped on in and I was thrilled to Bethesda Bagel.
Oh, well, that's fantastic.
From Earl Brewer.
Can be.
Hey, Uncle Tony, happy holidays to you and the gang. Just to put a bow on the worst song of all time, I went right to the source of all knowledge, Wikipedia. God, people, don't go to Wikipedia. Please don't.
What can go wrong when you can edit yourself?
It's just a shortcut to disaster and false facts. Here are some of the songs they list as the worst ever, from the 50s and 60s. Yes, Sir, That's My Baby by Harry Carl and the Six Sippers. Maybe you and Carol danced to his ditty at a sock hop in Garden City. From the 70s and 80s, Having My Baby, Paul Anka. Heard saying the name of that tune, Putrid. For the 90s and 2000, Ice Ice Baby, Vanilla Ice. He eventually had to pay $4 million to the group Queen for not suing him in court. And finally, thank God, for the 2010s, Baby by your boy Justin Bieber, that little punk. I think we can all agree on the worst song so far of this decade, Cars for Kids.
Yeah. KARS?
Terrible.
Yep, that definitely takes it.
Earl Brewer is the owner and director of Virginia Elite Lacrosse. Justin Johnson, Arlington, Virginia. I don't know. I really don't mind the Pina Colada song. Well, I mean, again, you can't go to Wikipedia.
No,
You just can't go to Wikipedia.
not sound.
From Steve Jacoby in Shamokin, Pennsylvania. Shamokin is near Philadelphia, isn't it?
Okay.
Oh, or is it Shamokin is on the way to Binghamton?
Thanks,
Or 81? Is it off 81? I was yacht rocking on my commute to work this morning when Brandy by Looking Glass came on. I laughed out loud, found myself singing along to the silly song. Thanks for entertaining us, even in between shows. From Bill Baker in Heinsberg, Vermont. I'm from the generation between you and Michael. Anything by Foreigner, especially Cold as Ice or Jukebox Hero. One does not need Ipecac if you're on the playlist. Ipecac is something you give a dog to induce vomiting. It's when the dog is eating something that can't happen. Ipecac. If you're out on your bike tonight, everyone, as always, do wear white.
Okay, we wound up 5 and 11. Not very good. Well,
Not the worst.
but there was some worse than us. I guess that's one positive way to look at it. We weren't the worst team in the league.
All right, so you can probably hear, well, maybe hear in the background, the volleyball tournament going on, Nebraska and Pittsburgh in the Final Four down in Tampa tonight, December 14th. It is 7:27 p.m. Eastern currently. Nebraska has a slim lead in the first set. It is currently 15-12. So we'll see if they can finish out the first set and keep going. Good rally going on here. Point Pittsburgh. So 15-13. We are about to fly over Liverpool. Of course, in the UK, we've got to find all the Premier League stadiums. Maybe not all, but I try to hit some of them as we fly over major cities. So we will try to find Anfield for Liverpool and Everton's field, which is Goodison Park, I believe. I'm still watching the volleyball. Oh boy. 15-14. Pittsburgh on a little run. Alright, so we are flying over the River Mersey. The Liverpool John Lennon Airport in the distance. Oh, service error by Pittsburgh, so 16-14 Nebraska. And once again, we changed the time. Obviously, otherwise it'd be pitch black, because it'd be like 2 in the morning there. But we do have live weather on, so it doesn't look too bad. Sometimes when you leave live weather on, it's just clouds everywhere. Nebraska serving. Oh, nice. Big block by Ali Batenhorst. 17-14 Nebraska. For the next podcast, once we fly over the soccer stadiums here, I think we will go to the today's Sharp and Handley show from Omaha, Nebraska. Now, Nebraska football has its own drama going on. We thought we were going to get Kyle McCord, Ohio State's transfer quarterback. He decided, nah, he's not going to come to Nebraska. We're still hoping we get Dylan Raiola to decommit from Georgia and commit to us. That's what everyone says is going to happen, but Everyone also said Kyle McCord was going to go to Nebraska, so we'll see. The Dylan Raiola flip is supposed to happen this weekend, so we will see if that actually happens. Was that touch? Yes, that was touch. 18-15, Nebraska up. All right, now I got to find the soccer stadiums. They should be not too far away. Maybe I need to head north a little bit, though. Nebraska up 19-15. Not really seeing. Let me zoom on the map, might help me out here. I don't want to zoom in there. Come on. Okay, so I'm not actually to Liverpool yet. I'm still kind of about to get to Birkenhead. I got to get across. So actually what we're flying over there was the River Dee, not the River Mersey. The River Mersey's coming up. For all my millions of people that are watching this, I'm sure. So we're down to 68% fuel remaining. So we should be able to get to Manchester, maybe even to Leeds in this flight. It depends on how long I feel like doing this on a work night. 7:30 p.m. It's not too late, but I'm an old man now, so usually get in bed pretty early on work nights. Talking about the volleyball day in Nebraska back in August, where we had 92,000 fans for a NCAA women's volleyball game, setting a record for most fans at a women's sporting event in the world. And you can see occasionally we're getting those drop frames. I'm not even looking at OBS. I'm just looking at the game. I'm sure it's worse on OBS, but I think it's something I can deal with. So, since I'll probably be the only one watching these, as long as I can deal with it, that's what matters. So Nebraska up 19-15, serving in set 1. That went out, so 19-16. All right, now we're about to fly over the River Mersey. Let's take a look south real quick with all those drop frames. It's a little stormy and hazy off that direction, so we'll see if it's a little bit harder to see stuff as we continue east. All right, 20-16, Nebraska. All right, got to find the soccer stadiums. It does look pretty cloudy where we're flying to with the live weather. We'll see if we need to turn that off at some point. Trying to keep live weather on as much as possible. Nebraska serving up 4 in set 1. Point Pittsburgh, 20-17. All right, let's find some soccer stadiums here. You can kind of see them in the distance there. Let's see if that is correct. Let's fly over kind of downtown Liverpool also. Oh, nice. Point Nebraska, 21-17. Probably can slightly hear. Maybe you can't. The TV in the background. I was hoping you weren't getting 2 sets of audio when I was playing the podcast. 22-17 Nebraska. but you probably can't hear the TV too well. I don't know if the microphone would pick it up. I have it pretty low. Alright, so first let's fly over downtown Liverpool here. The Royal Liver Building. Up ahead. Now, all the Beatles were from Liverpool, right? Not just John Lennon? I'm not sure of that, but I thought they all met in Liverpool. We're talking about Harper Murray now, Nebraska's star freshman. Her and Morgan Beeson are kind of our two top players, along with Bergen Riley, Lainey Choboy, Becca Alec, Andy Jackson, Allie Batenhorst. Can't forget about, as I'm forgetting her name, the girl from Omaha, who was injured for a lot of the year, Lindsay Krause. And Lexi Rodriguez, of course. So, yep, there are the two soccer stadiums. We'll fly over them. They're so close. I had no idea they were this close together before I did this flight over the weekend. And now having to redo it now, hopefully with better resolution, even if the frames are still dropping like crazy. Alright, so try to make a turn to get over both stadiums here. We're probably going to lose a lot of frames here as I'm trying to make a sharp-ish turn. Alright, so there's where Liverpool plays. And here is where Everton plays. It's pretty cool they're so close together. It's like a Duke, North Carolina rivalry type situation. Alright, so there's probably a bunch of other landmarks that I just don't know about that I could fly over. But now we are going to head to Manchester. We'll see if we can find where Manchester United and Manchester City play as we head east, slightly northeast. And we will play as we are flying the Thursday, December 14th, that's today's Sharp and Handley show from Omaha, Nebraska, as they talk about missing out on Kyle McCord from Ohio State, but the hope that we can still get Dylan Raiola, the five-star high schooler, will be a freshman in 2024. So on to Sharp and Handley from December 14th, 2023. And it is set point. Let me see if we can get this point real quick here. No, that was in. 24-19, Nebraska up, but we're nearing winning the first set.
Throw pillows for your favorite holiday hope. Outside for Trout. Trout bounce pass down low. And a big foul. Whoa, no call. Holy cow. Boy, he got knocked to the deck. That should have been a foul. As Kalkbrenner got knocked to the deck, now a drive to the rim. Scoop layup missed by Hicks. And the rebound comes down to Creighton, down by 3. Boy, that is a terrible miss underneath on the other side.
Before I continue the podcast, I have to send a quick video to my mom and sister. It's now 24-20. Pittsburgh's on a little run here. I'm going to record the closing out of this segment. Alright, Nebraska just took a timeout, so I'll have to wait to record my little video.
Kalkbrenner got mugged underneath the rim. Kalkbrenner. No backdoor cut there. Handoff Shireman. Shireman gives it back to Kalkbrenner on the roll. The one-hand slam. Second time in a row. 55-11. And it's 47-39, but the Jays need to find some teeth in their defense. Boom. Bounce pass to his brother. Now he'll work in the post. Jump stop in the paint. Blocked. He gets it back. Now looks to go up again. Working, up and under. Layup. Good. Boy, oh boy, is Caleb Boone getting the better of Ryan Kalkbrenner. He gets his own block back and then lays it up and in. His second bucket of the half. He's got 12. Shireman underneath the basket, swings it outside. Bello has an open three. Yes! Francisco Farabello, his second 5 points, bank three-pointer, 51-44. But again, you're getting it from guys that you don't normally rely on. It's Miller, it's Farabello, but it's not Alexander, it's not Shireman, it's not Ashworth.
Good morning, everybody. You guys know what I saw this morning?
What'd you see this morning?
Okay.
Kid or a possum?
Neither. So, I may have seen the fastest rabbit ever driving in. If somebody needs like a...
Alright, time to record my video. Set close out right here. Up. Play. There it is. Alright, we got it. Set one is ours. Hello Tracy. Hello Julian Time. I suppose Ron might be watching too. Hello. Alright, back to the podcast.
Wide receiver. Seriously, I'm driving down 52nd here. And it's just me and my tunes. Little boo thing. This rabbit runs out in front of me. Now, if, I got a little superstitious, so if a black cat runs out in front of me, your turn. Yes, I will. I will pull into the next parking lot, I will back out, and I will go around. So, I'm driving along, little boo thing. And then the next thing I know, this rabbit darts out in front of me. Literally, the rabbit went from one curb to the other and only hit the pavement once. Ooh, I almost wanted to stop and get out and go. Yeah, that's worthy of it. Yes, that's how my morning has started. So that's what we're going to talk about for 4 hours.
Yeah, Oscar should recruit the rabbit. Good special teams.
Good morning, boys. How we doing?
Good. I mean, yesterday wasn't great, although, it was hell yeah, Iowa Western, right?
Yes. Hey, give it up, Iowa Western.
Iowa Western, yes, true. Yep. And EMCC, and by the way, Buddy Stevens, I think he's lost some weight.
I don't know, man.
I think he's lost some weight.
He seems to be a douche-canoe.
Oh, his halftime interview. That doesn't change. He's the Buddy Stevens.
Last night, an absolute beatdown. Iowa Western wins their second straight junior college national championship. They win 61-14 over East Mississippi.
That makes it sound like it was closer than it was.
Oh, their defense is unbelievable, and their offense was good. And they were good. They won back-to-back titles, and it's the third time that one of the great people in the sport, Scott Strohmeyer, has led the only place that has had him as a head coach. They win a national championship, so congratulations to them. It is also match day. Nebraska volleyball is 2 away from a national title, as they will play tonight against Pittsburgh in Tampa. 6 o'clock is first serve. That is Central Time. So that is a little bit later. That Texas-Wisconsin match. Ooh, people in Tampa go to bed early. I mean...
Well, yeah, you kept saying, like, late, and even with the Nebraska match, like, 6 o'clock is actually pretty tolerable.
Even I think 6 o'clock is good for me. Well, you know, if you watch any of the ESPN stuff over the weekend, the 4 regional finals never started on time. I mean, they were always being bumped to somewhere else. And so they went 0 for 4. So, yeah, it could be like a 10 o'clock first serve there in Tampa tonight for the Texas-Wisconsin, which, I mean, both of these have the makings of going 5, but it's match day. Nebraska's 2 away from winning a national championship in that sport. Andy Kendi will actually join us from Tampa. He was busy yesterday. Every time I turned on Channel 7, it was AK doing a stand-up.
I was over at my parents' house swinging something by, and they had the 5 o'clock news on. There he was, doing a stand up there. Then 6 o'clock, get home. 7's on. There he is again. Hardworking man.
You supporting KTV?
Well, it's. I don't think my parents know.
Are they a 4 o'clock or a 5 o'clock? Right, 4 o'clock they go to dinner. And then 5 o'clock they're watching the news.
See, they're still like
Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy back to back at 6, and then Family Feud.
No, dinner's being made right after the 5 o'clock news. So they're. I don't know if they're 4 o'clock. I've never been there on weekdays at 4 o'clock, but 5 o'clock they are loyal KTV listeners or viewers. And every time I go over there, I don't even know if they realize CBS and NBC exist unless there's like a Nebraska game being played.
Yeah, it is amazing in this TV market. KTV has a stranglehold.
Yeah, they do. They do a good job though.
Yes,
the sports coverage is fantastic.
Good people everywhere. All TV stations matter in this market.
Yes, they do.
Just like all fans matter, there will be a huge contingent of Nebraska fans in Tampa tonight, which was brought up by the Pitt head coach, which, you made an impact when you're at the Final Four and you're bringing up that, and we actually might be playing a road match to go to the national championship game. We'll have a lot more on that. Of course, Iowa Western winning. But I always get into this conversation with friends of mine that I have in the business. And a little inside baseball, the Omaha radio market is the 75th largest market in the country. We produce content that is better than the 75th radio market. And we've had an abundance of talent that are, we have major market talent that has been in radio. But I always get that from friends that are in sports talk radio that don't live here that I talk to a lot, is they say, oh man, I know you guys got Nebraska football and that's basically your pro team, but you ever run out of things to talk about? And I will say, do you not know what Nebraska football is? Because whether they are winning or losing, there is never a dull moment. And we have 2 other Division I universities. We have high school. We have a lot of stuff going on. So there is never a dull moment, in my opinion, in sports talk radio. You should never be searching for topics of, okay, let's do this. Okay, if you are, you're not very good. Okay, if that's what you rely on.
Yeah, that's culture line.
So this is, yesterday, a prime example. So when I tell friends in the biz, no. There is never a dull moment. I am going to point to the last couple of days around here because you knew it was coming. Because once we started to track flights, you knew that we would start to scour the student directory at Nebraska. And we got what we did yesterday, another wild day when it comes to covering a football program that is coming off a 5-7 season and hasn't been to a bowl game since 2016 and just raised your hopes. We should have known this, that there's no way that you can have 2 5-star quarterbacks in the same quarterback room. How did we not learn our lesson? And we've learned our lesson because that will not be happening after the news of Kyle McCord yesterday. What another crazy day, which may or may not be over.
Right. And that news it was funny. I was over at my parents' house when I saw that, and
You can admit you're living at your parents' house.
I felt like I was yesterday. I was over there a lot. No, they wanted to take pictures with
Nobody's knocking Tommy DeVito.
They didn't want to hang out with me. They wanted to hang out with their grandson and get holiday pictures taken. So
Now I get that. He's pretty cool. They were taking holiday pictures in their house.
yeah.
They running a side business.
No, they were taking. They wanted the pictures with him so they could send out their holiday card. Yeah. No, this wasn't like there wasn't like a line of like residents in their little townhouse community that were like lined up outside door, and then we finally got our
Got the
number called.
Christmas card. Here's our son Nick. He's in radio.
I thought it was great. I'm like, do you guys want any more pictures? They wanted nothing to do with me, so I get that. They got 3 older sons too, and just it was almost like a feeling of. I guess that was probably too good to be true. I mean, for 2 days solid, we were under the impression that this was going to be the quarterback situation. And given how bad it was, we've spent all week talking about it, how bad it was this unbelievable scenario that seemed like it was at the goal line. And the amount of references that I saw last night, I was looking at some of the message boards, and yeah, there is a lot of that woe is me, and we know that the fan base kind of feels that, but the whole analogy of, what do you know, we had the ball inside the 5 and we fumbled again. I mean, every little, like, analogy
But did Nebraska?
I don't know what happened. That's the one thing I was trying to text with people last night, like, okay, so where this thing dramatically changed, because I don't think any of the reports that Kyle McCord and everything was going well, and it sounded like he was going to be signing, and it sounded like he was going to be making his decision, he was going to go to Nebraska. I don't think any of those things were false. I don't think any things were like, you guys are getting some awful information. Something changed, whether it was the timing of Dylan Raiola, and then you have a lot of the theories of, well, he wanted guaranteed starting spot. He wanted that assurance as a grad transfer. He being Kyle McCord wanted that assurance, and he wasn't going to get that, especially with having Dylan Raiola most likely making his way into Nebraska.
Most likely.
Well, at this point, I don't. But I'm not going to, as you said, wait till the ink's dry, right?
I'm glad I've couched that this week about.
It gave you a little backstop. It gave you a little backstop there.
Until it's the truth. But here's the thing with portal guys. Portal guys don't sign a letter of intent.
Right.
Like they're not committed. Walter Rouse can tell Nebraska he's coming here, and the next day he's at Oklahoma and he's enrolling in school. So but I gotta come up with a different term for portal guys. But other guys, until the ink is dry.
But it's duly noted.
Yes.
It is. And so whatever happened, I still truly believe that this took everybody that was close to the situation by surprise. And I think that's where a lot of people were yesterday with the whole that seemed like kind of the common reaction was, of course this happened.
Okay, so let me take you through my day yesterday. And I was surprised, but now things start to make sense here. And you brought the word timing. So here was my day yesterday, and I was searching for some information, not about Kyle McCord, even though we kind of briefly talked about it yesterday. I was a little surprised that he got on a plane to go back to Columbus and he had not committed to Nebraska, or even silently said, "Hey, yeah, I'm in." I was a little bit, okay, is he still searching? And we know now he's going to search, and Syracuse is now the next up. But I was, it was the Common Fan podcast. Shout out TJ, Matt, and Jeff. Thanks for having me on. So that got over. We got done about 2:15, and I was texting somebody that would know, because they would kind of be involved. Is what's the timeline of Dylan Raiola when he gets here? And they're like, I don't know, been in it, haven't been dialed in yet today. And I said, what about McCord? And they immediately said, I don't think so. And I was like, what? Like, I just don't, I get a weird vibe. And I said, what do you mean a weird vibe? Like, I just don't know. I go, do you know something for sure? And they're like, no, I don't think he's coming here. This was like 2:33 o'clock yesterday. Yeah. And I was like, man, I get a different feel. And I'm like, no, man, I don't know. It's I don't have any information, but I'm like, really? So kind of just let it go, and then you find out that he's not coming here. So you're right. Everybody that had crystal ball, because the family was giving you the impression before they ever got on a plane that Nebraska was the right match.
Yeah.
So then you get on campus, and going back to your comment about timing is everything. We use the word awkward, that when Kyle McCord, who you have focused on to be your starting quarterback in 2024, is on campus, and the next thing you know, Dylan Raiola wants to be on campus, how awkward that would be. I think that changed the entire game. And it probably, and we may or may never find out, it changed the tone of the conversation. Something to keep in mind is, wasn't McCord's dad with him?
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody nowadays, especially that position, they are business people. You just went through a scenario why you left a school because you were not given some certain guarantees.
Right.
You were coming to a place where you thought the door is wide open. My kid's going to be number one. We don't have to ask.
Right.
And then you're on campus and it gets awkward. This is just me speculating on why this turned. Is the conversation is, no, we want you. But the other side of the conversation is, I don't want my kid looking over his shoulder.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Did you guys not know this? Hey, this is what we want. Because Nebraska had gone down the path. They had already had the NIL discussion. Like, numbers had been exchanged. And I think that, again, no inside knowledge, this is just my gut, is they wanted something, or who are you going to choose?
Yeah.
And Matt Rule chose a 5-star quarterback who is going to commit on the weekend. And then you have a thanks. We have to choose one or the other. Maybe you're forcing my hand. That's what I choose.
Yeah.
And sorry it didn't work out. We didn't know this was going to happen before you came here. It happened. We'd love to have both, but you're making us make a decision. We're focusing on one, and he's the guy that we believe over a longer period of time will have more impact on our program. And thanks, and off the McCords go to probably Syracuse. I think timing is everything. Timing is everything, and it's completely changed once he got on campus, and the Raiolas were like, "It's go time."
Yeah.
But that's like so Nebraska.
It is, and that's how everybody was feeling last night. That was and I get it. I'm not trying to say like, come on, take a step back. But no, I understand that, because for like a 48-hour period, it was euphoric, man. I mean, it was. I remember bringing this up, I think on Tuesday, when we just had that Matt Blank crazy day of the McCord news, and then all of a sudden the Dylan Raiola news, and then where the hell is this coming from? Where I imagined like a conversation going on with the coaching staff, and then all of a sudden Mr. McCord looking at his phone and just saying, "Coach, can you explain this? Is this a problem?" And there is one thing that I would bring up on the Kyle McCord part of it, that this is also something that I could sort of envision, and I don't know how much thought he or maybe even his father put into this, but think about the most popular player on every team is the backup quarterback. Let's say you start the season, and you've got some games. Okay, for instance, let's think about that Colorado game. It's gonna be crazy. Gonna be a lot of pressure. People are gonna want to see Nebraska have a much better showing, try to stick at the prime and everything that took place last year. And let's say Kyle McCord is not on his game, maybe struggling, maybe not even because of him himself. Maybe the O-line's letting him down. Maybe some receivers are dropping some passes. Maybe they're out of sync. The fever, the Dylan Raiola fever, and what is going to be taking place from the time that he gets here to fall camp, and constantly wanting updates, even if he's not the starter, but constantly wanting updates on how close he is. that type of external pressure that I think could exist at the first sign of trouble at quarterback for Kyle McCord, I think would be probably greater than anything we've seen here in a very, very long time, if at all, on the calling for we want the backup quarterback. And if you're, say, a sophomore or junior, you've been at that school for a while and you beat out the freshman or a couple of other guys and you earned that spot, maybe you are able to kind of roll with that and say, hey, that's part of winning that quarterback competition. But when you're going from place, going back to what you said about not feeling the love from Ohio State, and now being in a position where you can choose a school and an offense that is going to say, yeah, you're our guy. You are going to upgrade us, and you don't have to worry about maybe that external pressure. I can kind of understand where maybe Kyle McCord is coming from. Again, I don't know if he thought that much into it, but I know, and you know, how this place gets. And when the quarterback is not performing at a high level, especially with what you need out of it this year, more than any, if you show some signs of regression or just having a bad one, it's going to be a lot, I think, it'll be a lot more loud about, all right, it's time to bring in the kid. And I don't know if you want to be a part of that.
Well, if you don't, then I don't want you in your program. I would think that people have control of their program as a head coach, that they're not going to bow to guarantees. You know, Georgia's not bowing to a guarantee, so they're like, peace out. I'm going to give Roll the benefit of the doubt that he's not bowing to any guarantees that are asked of him. But if they say choose, he's going to choose wisely.
Yeah.
I think Nebraska was set on McCord. They had no idea that Raiola was going to flip, and McCord's on campus. He flips, and the tone probably from one side of the camp changed.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, Nebraska. As much as you don't say no to a five-star, the best quarterback or the top 3 quarterback in the country, who you already have a relationship with, wouldn't you like to ease them into the situation
100%.
so you have a veteran and try and pull off having 2 guys and making it work?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Nebraska said, no, we're good. Hey, Kyle, here's a free dinner, man. Try that pasta and that cheese. That cheese is great, man. You'll love that. All right, that cheese bowl, it's fantastic. I think probably, and I noticed that his dad was pressed for comment and said no comment. I don't know what that means. There was a curveball while they were on campus of something that nobody saw coming.
Yeah.
Nobody saw coming, and we don't know then what happened with the McCord side of the conversation with Nebraska, and maybe they did say, all right, coach, choose. You can't have both, choose. And Rule chose that. If it comes out that I need a guarantee that I'm going to be the starter, and he chose the guy that made that guarantee, or the family that made that guarantee, then man, Matt Rule needs to be dragged through the coals.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't believe that he would do that.
I don't either.
But it's timing is everything, and it didn't work out. And now Nebraska, 2 things. You still need to add to your quarterback room. Well, 3 things. You still need to add to your quarterback room. 2, doesn't Chubba Purdy become the most important person in this whole conversation?
First thing I thought of, as soon as that news came out, first thing I thought of is this makes Chubba Purdy's presence and trying to keep him around that much more important.
Then the other part of it is, if you are going to start a freshman, it's happened at Nebraska, so it's not like this is new. And if a kid is a 5-star, you think he has enough, unfortunately paired with what was a bad offense, enough to start the process, then you know what? Blow it up and build the offense around Dylan Raiola right now.
Yep.
Start doing it right now. You're fortunate he's going to be here in the spring, so he's got a whole spring to go through. If he's your guy, that's the guy you chose. Move forward and center everything around him while you build back that quarterback room. But you better damn well make sure that Mr. Purdy sticks around through spring at least, and you do something else, because now the quarterback room looks kind of interesting with an 18-year-old kid, then 2 guys that were here last year that still need development. They're never a dull moment. Never a dull moment with Nebraska football.
And the timing we talked about with the dead period on Sunday. I mean, as far as transfers and communications, the transfer portal, obviously that's not a hard date of like, okay, if you're going to sign, you've got to, if you want to be here by the eligible for the semester, it's January 22nd, I believe is when the new semester begins for Nebraska. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden, okay, well, it was Kyle McCord or bust, it was Kyle McCord or nobody. So I would assume that they're still going to be vetting that position. But again, I thought immediately of Chubba Purdy. I think everybody was probably in the understanding that in a perfect world, you'd love to have all those guys there in spring just to rep it out and see what's what. But I think the likelihood of that being the case was probably not great. And I know I could see a scenario, and I could probably accept a scenario where Chubba Purdy, if he decided to go ahead, regardless of yesterday's news with the NCAA, could go ahead and take a grad transfer, free transfer, or obviously now they don't even need that.
Well, as a grad transfer, you can get a free one.
Obviously, it's a free one. So it really, again, yesterday's news doesn't really impact him either way. But I would think that he moving on would probably make some sense if you had the McCord, Raiola, tandem that made its way into Lincoln. This, I think, creates a much bigger sense of urgency to where you now look at Chubba Purdy as I know he's not a transfer, but kind of that same type of impact of the same role that you wanted to see Kyle McCord in. And that is, you want a veteran presence, you want a guy that knows the language, knows Marcus Satterfield, knows Matt Rule, is very familiar with this offense and a lot of guys that are returning, and can at least give you a little bit of that stability, even if it is not for the entire season. And I'm with you on spring too, but even as I look at Nebraska's non-conference schedule and what they have going in, Chubba Purdy, from my opinion, I think could fill that role okay. Would it be as good as a Kyle McCord? No, I don't think it would be. But there's still, and there was always value with Chubba Purdy.
Having some controller issues, keeps falling off the table.
There was a guy that I think everybody was still intrigued to see, a fully healthy Chubba Purdy, and having another year in the offense would be somebody that would be worth at least keeping your eye on how he develops. Now, I think it's crucial that you're able to keep him around.
All right, so let's play the excitement. And this is for our listeners, 951-1620. You can hit us up on the 42 Degree Source hotline. Nebraska's going to have a 5-star quarterback. All right, they're going to get a 5-star quarterback. Are you excited? If I would have told you 2 weeks ago, the only guy Nebraska's going to sign to add to the quarterback room is Dylan Raiola, would you have been excited?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you still excited?
Yes. People should be. Yeah.
That's the vibe I'm trying to get here.
Right.
So 951-1620, the number's always to get to the show. You can always email us into the Equitable Bank inbox, Gary at 1620thezone.com.
Hanley at 1620thezone.com.
JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed at Gary Sharp 1620.
And Nikki Hanley.
All right, the lineup for the show, Steve Sipple's going to join us at 8:30. Now, this will be an interesting conversation because Sip had a long discussion before the McCord showed up with Dad, Derek. He also is really good friends with Don. So I'll be curious on Sip's thoughts as now this is laid out on the eve of an official visit. He'll join us at 8:30. As I mentioned, AK is in Tampa. He'll join us at 9, Nebraska volleyball tonight against Pittsburgh in one of the semifinals. Great Final Four. 3 number ones, and then there's Texas, the defending national champion. In a sport where you don't get upsets, you really don't. I don't know that any of these would be upsets. Even if Nebraska loses tonight, I don't know it would be an upset. A lot of people like Pittsburgh. There's two matches tonight in Tampa, in the home of the Tampa Bay Lightning, that have 5 centers written all over. Brian Edwards will join us as well. Also, here's another part of yesterday. So while we were on the air, you noticed all the activity on social media, right?
Yeah. The eyeballs, and Matt Rule's the GOAT. Yeah.
So some of it was true. Like any reference to a big dog, I said it's the Las Vegas offensive line. I didn't want to steal the kid's stuff. So he did commit at 6 o'clock. Timing is everything. All of the McCord stuff had unfolded, and I thought, man, I know he's committing at 6 o'clock Central. He's going to announce it. Oh gosh, sorry, kid.
you're going to commit on the heels of people going, what's going on? Yeah. Nebraska got an offensive line commitment yesterday. Not bad. I had not watched much film. Not a bad pickup from a Bishop Gorman High School in Vegas, which is a winning program that produces a lot of Power 5 kids year after year. Usually double-figure Power 5 guys. That's a good pickup. That's going to be a sneaky pickup on an offensive line where they have gone all in the last 2 years on the offensive line. But I felt bad. I was like, geez, timing is everything. You're announcing at 6, and for the last 90 minutes in Nebraska, on Nebraska Twitter, we're back to, this is awful. Yeah. How's the program ever going to move forward? Then this kid commits and he's all excited. Yeah. It went from, people are like, he's on a walk-on? Oh, wait. Okay. Now what the hell? Let's go back to this McCord thing. What the hell? He's only a 3-star? Yeah. Come on. I need something better today. That's a good pickup. That's a good pickup for Nebraska, so we'll discuss that. And to top it off, for all the Jayskers out there, boy, you had a crappy day yesterday. You lose McCord, and then you lose a basketball game to UNLV. It's a not very good team. I said Creighton will roll. I was completely wrong because I did not take two things into account. Keelan Boone. Well, I didn't know anything about a federal judge stepping in after we were on. Come on, man. And then I did not account for the fact that Creighton would have no sense of urgency or energy last night playing in that game. Absolutely none. That was an embarrassment. Does it mean anything on Saturday against Alabama? We're about to find out. Does it mean anything in March outside of neutral site loss? UNLV is, their net rating isn't really good. Mountain West teams are like 830. That, in the moment, that's a bad loss for Creighton because of the way they played. Yep. No energy, no juice, poor defense, and I think early on in that game, they got comfortable. Remember, they're up 8-2. We were like, here we go, bring on Alabama. Good on UNLV. They responded quickly with a 9-0 run, never gave back the lead. They were really good in communication. If you looked at all, they called out all the switches. They did a really good job. They had great perimeter defense. Yep. And then they did something that they had not done so far, which I did not think, is they defended the three. An athletic team ran Creighton off the three-point line. Where have you heard that before? And they made threes. I mean, they got 30 of their points from three-point range. So they were timely threes. So what also last night told you is Creighton will never, ever, ever, ever again play a Mountain West team. Last 3 losses by Creighton have been to Mountain West teams. They got beat last night, 79-64 to UNLV. There's a lot more in there because there's a couple of things. There's a couple of things after 10 games that I think might be true even after 20 and 30 games, and then there's some things that are you had a clunker. You had a clunker. I think the one that'll stick the most is the energy. It'll remind you of an NBA road trip the last day and they're ready to go back. Yeah, you know what? It didn't look like they had a game plan. Yeah, it looked like they're going to show up. We're in Vegas. It's a sleepy neutral site game. There aren't many people. People came dressed as empty seats. We're just going to, UNLV is still trying to figure it out. We're Creighton. We're going to roll out there. That's what they got punked last night. They got beat by a team that had better intentions. Well, and just dominating the paint, too. Like that. Just the Caleb Boone presence and what he was able to do inside. And even this is what I liked about what they decided to do from that standpoint, and give Caleb Boone a lot of credit as well. He had some shots rejected, but that's the one thing that we've always seen with Kalkbrenner's presence is he's going to alter shots, and then usually you're going to think twice about what you want to do inside the paint, and especially when you've got him around the rim. They were fearless. They continued to go after him. And I think understanding that sometimes it's not going to go your way, but that's not going to deter you from attacking and being aggressive inside the way that they were, and then what that opened up outside and what they were able to knock down there, especially in the second half when Creighton would try to make any remote chance of a comeback. Like it was such a good look for UNLV last night. But yeah, like to watch Creighton just get kind of bullied inside, that was something. The Boones were good, but I think the bigger problem for Creighton was Thomas and Cottrell. Yeah, Denon Thomas that guy's a player. Did not turn the basketball over last night. No, which is something they did before. All right, Creighton comes home. I'm sure they'll be running suicides today in practice. They still call those that? Or are they called line drills? I know, did we cancel that?
Yeah.
Did we get the puke buckets out?
Well, hey, I'd run guys. I'd run guys after a performance like that.
Still waiting for you guys to run.
All right, 42 past the hour, went a little bit long here. A little bit later, Steve Sipple, Andy Kendi, and Brian Edwards. We'll get to Grant and Jason. Stay right there. We're off and rolling on what will be a busy Thursday morning. Morning from Sharp and Hanley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
We make USAA insurance to help you save. Take advantage of discounts when you cover your home and your ride.
Want to know how to get the same on a Thursday morning? National champion lives in our neighborhood. Iowa Western football won last night in Little Rock against East Mississippi, 61-14. No, I did not misspeak. 61-14.
And they got their first touchdown, like, with, 3 minutes left to go in the third? Because the first touchdown that EMCC got was just a kick return. And then the first offensive touchdown was, like, 3 minutes in the third. So that was down in the boat.
People forget that it was 7-6 at one point.
Yes.
But another national championship for Scott Strohmeyer and their program, and well-deserved. It was quite the journey this year. They didn't know what they had at the beginning of the year. I remember having a discussion with Stroh, and he's like we have a lot of guys back on defense, but we're going to have to find a way on offense. They scored 61 in a national championship game.
They found their way.
All right, we'll get to some emails. A lot of emails this morning on what happened yesterday. Welcome to Nebraska football. 2023, 2022, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 17, 14. We will get through those as we work our way through the morning. But Grant has been holding on the 42-degree source hotline. Good morning, Grant.
Good morning, Gary. It's Insurance Man Grant. I know you'll be shocked about that. Good morning, Nick.
That you're still, hey, hold on, Mr. Musman. That you're still in the insurance business, or that you're calling?
Yeah. Good Lord. You guys were making some excellent points. I think Nick was making better ones because I remember them. The backup quarterback always being the most popular. That one makes me think of Tommy Frazier, right? Didn't he come in freshman and start game 5 or something?
Yes, he started in Columbia, Missouri. Yep. Mike Grant got Wally pipped.
Yeah. So we've got 2 more starting the Martinez's. Both started as true freshmen, right?
Taylor was a redshirt freshman. He was on the scout team the year before.
Okay. And then a few questions about the Raiola pickup. Number 1, isn't he a true freshman, so wouldn't he be inked?
Hold on. So, wouldn't he be inked?
Yeah, you said he's not signing a letter of intent or whatever.
No, he's not like
Portal transfers don't sign letters of intent.
Has he been on Georgia's campus?
Yeah, but letter of intent signing day is not until Wednesday.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see, a couple more. Do you think any of this has to do with, didn't his, uncle or whatever, Raiola pick up a big raise this year?
Not related.
Okay. And last one, I get a kick out of this NIL thing because there's a black box and people love that. I know rules can't say it, but what is your speculation about the NIL offer? Do you think it has any national components to advertising or anything if you're the number 1 recruit? I'll hang up and listen.
Like Gatorade or State Farm?
Dylan has a national deal. Is it Panera?
Oh, nice. Panera.
I don't know.
Basic.
I don't know if that's been rolled out yet.
Okay.
But I think he has one national deal.
I hope he gets a
there's
discount.
There's another in the works that was in the works before he is in college.
We were at a Panera not too long ago. I didn't see Dylan's face on the menu, but that was also before all this news happened.
Doesn't Panera have? Don't they have a lot of deals with college athletes? I thought they.
That's new to me.
I thought they announced a couple of years ago, like 8 to 10 deals with college athletes about healthy eating or something along those lines.
Raiola wrap. Okay. I have not seen a Nebraska presence.
Yeah, I don't think
or like
it has to do with like the menu. I think it's promoting. Just eating.
Okay.
And maybe eating healthy and how athletes that have to keep their body at a
more of like a social media push campaign for something like that.
Probably. Okay. I don't know. Maybe in markets where they have a spokesperson, there are commercials.
I bet. I just haven't seen any of that. So, okay. They must not have I can't think of any Nebraska or Creighton or any state of Nebraska student athletes that I've seen linked to that. But I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah, Chris Reed had a burrito.
That is also true.
Yeah. 5 stars get healthier.
I would think you would partner up with members of the volleyball team.
Like in general, or you mean for the commercial?
Oh, both.
Oh.
Yes. Healthy eating spokespeople. Your most successful program in the state of Nebraska, where we have many Paneras. Okay. Here's Jason. Good morning, Jason. Trying to solve Paneras problems here.
Hey, good morning.
How we doing?
The Creighton, doing fine. The Creighton game last night it looked like they couldn't hit threes, and of course we don't have any defensive presence down low. Our 7-footer he's not a shot blocker. I mean, I've seen guys go right at him, score at will, like he wasn't even 7 feet tall. And the fact that we almost made the Final Four last year, I mean, we were really close. And I don't know how we lost that game really against San Diego State, other than the fact that if we don't hit our threes, if the shots aren't falling, Creighton.
So Nebraska just barely hung on to win the second set against Pittsburgh, 25-23 after a service error after Pittsburgh scored like 4 straight points. So we get it done. We're up 2-0. We are flying around Leeds right now looking for their soccer stadium. They're not all marked, which makes it a little bit more difficult. So there's Holbeck. Let's see where that is in relation to... Oh, so we should need to go... Wait, where's Holbeck? So we should be right by it. Well, Holbeck is right by the stadium, which is Elland Road, I guess. So let's head for Holbeck. What's our fuel? Fuel's at 42. So we're up to, we're through the second set. It's now 8:22 p.m. It's getting pretty late for old man Eric here. You might have heard me brushing my teeth in the background. Alright, let's see here. Where is this soccer stadium? Alright, so that's that road. I think it should be... Oh yeah, you can see it right now. Let's fly over Leeds United's soccer stadium, Elland Road. And then, what are we going to do? Should we land in Sheffield? We might give it a shot. It might not be me talking much, might just be the podcast, might get some ads because I need to shower as I get ready for bed. Old man Eric, like I said. Here's the soccer stadium. Hopefully we don't crash if I walk away from the computer. That would not be ideal. Alright. So now we want to go basically straight south to get to Sheffield. Head that way. And these distances are not nearly as long as I think they are. They keep going slightly in the wrong direction too. So if we get to Sheffield, that's probably where we'll call it for this flight. But it's probably not going to be as long as I think it's going to be. But at any rate, Nebraska's up 2-0. We're looking good so far. Though Pittsburgh in the previous round did get down 2-0 and then came back to win the next 3 sets in a reverse sweep. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But we'll continue on with the Sharp and Handley radio show from Thursday, December 14th.
It goes down, everybody knows that. Nebraska's quarterback situation, I hope whatever happens is that they can establish some depth. And because Scott Frost made a big mistake when he came out right out the gate and just gave the job to Martinez, and there was no depth behind him. Everybody left basically, and Frost just wanted to play him, so he was forced. Basically, his shot at Nebraska came down to him choosing a quarterback and riding with him for 4 years, and that was the nail in the coffin right there. So I don't want to see a repeat of that anymore. I want to see us get some depth there. I don't care who comes here. I want a Burrow to come here just for the depth, and he turned out to be, top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. He could have held the program, but we just have to realize that we have to get as many quarterbacks in that room, and if they want to go to the portal, fine, but you have to keep them coming.
Yep.
And that's all I got.
Jason, thanks for the call. I would say Culprin. I think he's pretty elite shot blocker. I think he had 5 last night too. Now I know what Jason's saying. Like that there was moments in that game where it didn't matter with his rim protection presence. Like they were still going at him, and good on UNLV. But there were moments where you could tell Ryan Culprinter was frustrated just with. I think again. The success that UNLV had in the paint and how they established themselves both offensively. Defensively, I wouldn't say they defended him, Culprinter, all that great. I think he was still able to do so much, but at that point they were kind of chasing points down and they were putting up a lot of shots that didn't necessarily involve Culprinter except for the pick and roll maybe in the second half. But as far as his ability to be a shot blocker, yeah, that's the one thing from that game I walk away of saying, yeah, no, he's still good at that. He did fine there. That doesn't concern me at all as far as where he is protecting the rim.
So you had 5 last night. There's a lot in there. Let me add to what you said about Creighton. There's things that happened last night against a team that has agile big men, but also are very physical and athletic. Is running you off the three-point line. So when Creighton doesn't shoot well, okay? When Creighton does not shoot well from the 3, and athletic teams run them off, they have nobody that can turn the corner and get to the rim. That's been a problem. We know that now. On defense, I'm going to say this. So Creighton's going to have a lot more better nights than they had last night. But what have I said? They're going to have a game where they blow out a Marquette or a UConn, and then they're going to have a game where they don't shoot well and they play a very athletic team that does well on talking out switches, and they're good on the perimeter with their defense. And they're going to lose to, I don't want to say Georgetown or Paul, but they're going to lose to one of those bottom-end teams in the Big East. Or a bad Nate Hinkle. Here's where Creighton's season goes, is can they win games when they're gritty, not gritty? Because it starts on the defensive end of me about that basketball team. They've got some issues on offense with they don't have a guard that can get to the rim. They still, Ashworth and Calbretta got to get together on the lob, on the pick and roll, because it seems like it's Nuke Lelouch sometimes throwing a pitch. But it starts for me on the defensive end. Can they be gritty on the defensive end? They've shown glimpses of that, there's no doubt. But when a team has more dudes on the floor than you, can you be gritty, not pretty? Can you win a San Diego State game when you're abysmal shooting the 3-ball? It's the response on what they do Saturday night. There's things in there that are always going to be there. My biggest takeaway from last night is where in the heck was the energy, the urgency in that game? Yeah. It looked like a Wednesday night game. Jimmy called it the back end of a back-to-back. Man, you're ready to go home. It looked like that. Now, you want to go see the Sphere? It looked like they had finals. What does that mean in March? Well, it might mean something if UNLV does nothing. Right. But in terms of, oh my God, that's a morning sun, I'm not ready to go there yet. And you got to know that everybody knows who Creighton is, and you got to show up every single night. And even when some guys have like, who's there to pick you up? But it does seem like when one guy is bad, the entire team is bad. And Trey Alexander is a punching bag right now, and I wonder, as we adjust to him having the ball in his hands more, Where's he at when it's crunch time in games where you need that spark to come from behind? Because against Colorado State and now against UNLV, he hadn't shot the ball real well.
Yeah.
Ashworth is going to be a problem. Okay, Ashworth is not Ryan Nemhart, and you can't make him Ryan Nemhart. But what teams are going to make him do? Man, they're going to get up on him, and then they're going to make him guard somebody. He can shoot like he did at Utah State, but back to it starts on defense. Now back to quarterbacks here real quick. Was anybody complaining that Adrian Martinez was a starter? No. Jebby didn't want to stick around. He left. Okay, that hurt the depth. But I'm riding with Adrian Martinez. I make that decision. But here's what you do. Good coaches, they realize we got a budding star. Okay, what do we put around him? What do we put behind him? And how do we move him forward? Nebraska, at quarterback and offensive line, are paying for pass sets. You didn't pay attention to that position, and you didn't recruit to that position. You didn't develop that position. So now you force the hand of the current head coach to have 11 scholarships. Good on him, though, because he wants to start inside and move outside with recruiting. Is you're building back the depth, and it's going to take a little bit for those guys to grow up, and you hope you hit on the right people. Same way at quarterback, you know? You got your guy, and then you did nothing behind him. Nebraska thought they had their guy. It didn't work out. They were left with what they have now. Now, if you add a Raiola, what do you add behind them? Okay? And I think Nebraska now has to pivot to that second-level portal quarterback that is a veteran that walks into that room. Because Dylan Raiola could be the greatest quarterback ever at Nebraska. 2 quarterbacks are going to start next year. That quarterback room right now looks like this. A Dylan Raiola, a Chuba Purdy, a Heinrich Harburg, and walk-ons. An 18-year-old freshman. Maybe great.
Yeah.
But it's still an 18-year-old freshman.
In a position.
Everybody cool?
Yeah, in a position where you already saw how that plagued this team last year. And again, it underscores, in my opinion, the importance of Chuba Purdy. I think everybody was thinking about him yesterday. I think everybody was realizing, hey, you know what? Let's go check in on him. And it is. It's extremely important. But, yeah, the idea of, well, okay, you lost Kyle McCord. I guess this is what you're left with. No.
Yeah, they need that. They thought they had the bridge gap starter.
Yeah. Yes. The surefire starter.
Now they've transitioned. They're going to have to transition to our bridge gap is a veteran portal guy because we're all in on Raiola. That's where we are now. It's our hand's been forced because of what we wanted to do. Now the plan is Plan B.
Yep.
And let's go and let's roll behind Raiola and see what we got. And the upside could be huge. It's just the great unknown of an 18-year-old freshman playing in college against UTEP in August of next year.
And I know we're going back and forth on this one. I want to bring up the Creighton thing one more time. Of something else that kind of I noticed, and this is, I think you asked the question going into the season about if they're in those really tight games, if you have confidence that they can win, say, a game in the 50s. And at that time, I was more inclined to say yes, because, again, I think they've made a lot of strides over the last 5 years defensively as a program, too, where it's not just about their offense, but their defense. You can see solid defensive efficiency, and there's numbers to support that. But there is something that your eyeballs would tell you. And it's funny, we're talking about another Mountain West team. And we're talking about, as you put it, the whole gritty over pretty type of scenario. You heard when we opened the show, there was a call that I think a lot of us saw, and John Bishop makes a reference to it, where Kalkbrenner gets kind of hammered. And he was fouled. It didn't get called. It had no bearing on the game. But what it did do is it signaled the way the game was going to be called. And last night, they let both teams play, especially inside, where you were able to get a little bit more physical than maybe what some crews would allow. Again, not saying that this cost them the game, but their inability to sort of respond where UNLV took advantage of that. Think about the San Diego State game. Why was everybody so pissed off about that call at the end? Because the entire game had been called at a level where you were able to get physical, you were able to maybe get away with a little bit. They kind of let the boys play. I don't know if Creighton responds well to that. I don't think that's my biggest concern right now is there's some defensive things there, but I think there is a toughness.
You get physical with them.
Yeah, there is, yes, where you could try to push them around a little bit. And again, I'm watching Mike
pretty,
Colcrater,
not pretty.
who finishes with 5 blocks. Pretty good. But they never backed down. UNLV never backed down at going at him. And as he finally comes out, when Frederick King comes in at the end of the game, Colcrater looked like a pissed off dude, and he looked like a worn out dude. That frustration is something to keep your eye on, especially when there are teams that are kind of providing that toughness element, and they are trying to bully you. How do they respond? Because we've now seen 2 examples, one on a huge stage in the Elite Eight, and then one last night where Creighton did not respond well at all.
All right, Bob, stay right there. Bob's a Buckeye fan. Bob's
He has
gonna
honest
make everybody's morning. Jimmy will stop by with an update that's coming up next on 1620 The Zone.
When you save on auto insurance for driving safe.
Want to know how to get...
In addition to the men's loss at UNLV, Creighton women dropped their Big East opener. It was a tie game with less than 3 minutes left, but number 19 Marquette scores 7 unanswered and goes on to win 76-70 over Creighton last night in Milwaukee. Emma Ronsick scores 29 points, but the Golden Eagles' Liza Carlin scores 25 points and adds 12 rebounds to sort of cancel it out. The Jays will try to bounce back Sunday afternoon at Drake. In the NBA, Draymond Green has been suspended indefinitely by the NBA for his punch hit whatever on Sun Center Yusuf Nurkic in the face, which is illegal during Tuesday night's game. Green received a flagrant foul too and was subsequently ejected for the 3rd time this season, so congratulations. According to the NBA's release, the indefinite suspension takes into account Green's repeated history of unsportsmanlike acts. It began immediately. It is his 2nd suspension of the season. Supposedly he's going to seek therapy or whatnot and whatever. Anyway, things are kind of testy last night in general. Giannis Antetokounmpo exchanged heated words with members of the Indiana Pacers staff and raced towards the Pacers locker room last night as both teams squared off in a hallway in a dispute over the game ball following Giannis's franchise record 64 points. After Milwaukee's 141-26 victory, he had an animated discussion with the Indiana star Tyrese Halliburton, also pretty good, and other Pacers before rushing from the court towards the visitors' locker room, seemingly in search of the game ball. Indiana coach Rick Carlisle said afterwards the Pacers took the ball for Oscar Tshiebwe, who scored his first official NBA point in the contest. That led to the confrontation between members of the teams in the arena hallway. Carlisle said several Bucks players, including Giannis, came into the Pacers tunnel looking for the ball, and then a scuffle ensued. The coach said Pacers general manager Chad Buchanan was elbowed in the ribs by one of the Milwaukee players. Where is Anthony Mason and Charles Oakley when you need him the most? Partly, Texas backup quarterback Malik Murphy now entering the transfer portal. He says he will not be with the Longhorns in the college football playoff. A decision he said was wrenching for him. He immediately will become one of the most sought-after players on the transfer portal market. He's a redshirt freshman who will be immediately eligible and have 3 seasons of eligibility remaining. I don't know he's coming to Nebraska. Finally, Bill Belichick deflected multiple questions about his job status Wednesday, repeating the same answer each time that he's getting ready for Kansas City. Belichick's 3-10 team hosts the Chiefs on Sunday, a game that was flexed for Monday Night Football, mainly because the Patriots suck. Speculation about Belichick's future has swirled in part because owner Robert Kraft has been clear about his expectations entering the 4th season since 20's free agency departure. Kraft said in March that it's very important to me that we make the playoffs. The Patriots were officially eliminated on Sunday. The plot thickens. He'll be coaching somewhere else next year.
All right, go Chiefs.
Yeah, though it's a get-right game.
The awkward noon game.
Go Oma Chargers tonight as Easton Stick makes his debut as a starter in a game in which the Chargers, the under, is 34 in this game?
Yes.
So the Chargers haven't scored much in the last 4. Eckler, it looks like he might be back better last week.
Vontae Adams bad to the 3-0 loss on Sunday.
Yeah, the Raiders, remember when Antonio Pierce was going to bring back the Raiders?
Yeah.
They've scored, 36 points in the last 4 games?
Yeah, that 3-0 was a doozy game last week against the Vikings.
They've only gone over 3 times.
Yeah, that was elements.
Elements of the dome with the Roomba.
I think I like the Chargers in the under tonight. But good luck to Easton.
16-13 Chargers.
And if you want to go 2-quarterback system, keep it local.
Hey,
Max Duggan.
You're going to hear the game on Westwood. I heard Kevin's promo, so who's doing the game?
Good Lord.
Creighton Prep will get some references.
Yep.
Maybe Mike Stick's baseball career will get some references. North Dakota State, the Bison, will get some references.
Maybe he can drop a 311 lyric in there somewhere.
Maybe he'll drop that,
Raiders' beautiful disaster of a season.
There's another Omaha quarterback at North Dakota State.
Will they bring up what we see next up?
The Chargers are all mixed up tonight.
Well, the way this season is going with backup quarterbacks possible, maybe they will have them on the field at the same time, and it'll be like Omaha and Council Bluffs.
Yeah.
Like
A unified
Gene Stothard and Tom Hannafin shaking hands. I'm sorry, I just don't know the current mayor of Council Bluffs. He's just a...
Yes.
Long as he's not dead.
Tom Hannafin is the goat.
I remember Tom Hannafin very, very well.
Thanks, Jimmy. Here is Bob. What up, Bob?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Hey, just real quick, I just want to tell the Husker fan base, McCord not coming to Nebraska is not a bad thing. I'm a Buckeyes fan. I've watched this kid all year, and I'm going to lay some things out here real quick. McCord was a week 1 starter decision by Ryan Day. Devin Brown was his backup, and they were competing head-to-head, and it was a tough competition. So McCord got the nod. This kid, I don't think, had Brown stayed healthy, I don't think Kyle McCord would have finished the year as a starter with Ohio State. He's a good quarterback, and by all rights, I will say that he's probably better than what we have in our quarterback room. However, he's just not a fit for Nebraska with what we're trying to do and what he can do. He's a pocket passer. He's a statue. He very rarely can his legs save a play or extend a play. I want to remind everybody that Kyle McCord was surrounded by top national talent, top 5 offensive line, arguably top 10 running back room with Trainum and with Trayvon Henderson. He's got a top 10 tight end. We don't even, does anybody want to talk about Marvin Harrison Jr., the #1 receiver in the nation? And they bailed this kid out time and time and time again. I can't tell you how many third down situations where the checkdowns weren't there, the passes were overthrown, they were short, they were behind the receiver. Many Buckeye games this year really came down to the Buckeye line of scrimmage taking over and overpowering teams, and that's when they poured it on late. The quarterback play at Ohio State this year was good. It was not great. So you take that quarterback and you plug him into Nebraska's system. Nebraska is nowhere near where Ohio State is in all those areas. Oh, did we mention that Ohio State has a top 5 defense? Granted, Huskers have a great defense too, but not a top 5. All I'm trying to say is this kid was surrounded by top.
All right, I think we finally found Sheffield's soccer field just then. Going to land at Cole Aston Airfield and take off from there next time. Eventually getting down to London. Nebraska's currently at 14-9 in the 3rd set. They're up 2-0, so it's looking good. Barring some catastrophic collapse, Nebraska will advance to the national championship game on Sunday, probably playing Wisconsin, though Texas could also win. Wisconsin seems like the favorite, but who knows? We might be able to take them. We beat them once in 5 sets in Lincoln. They beat us pretty badly in a sweep in Madison. So we'll see what happens. This must not be a big airfield. It keeps disappearing on me. Let's see what Sheffield's main airport is. It's like it's Doncaster Sheffield Airport. I wonder if I can find them. No, they don't seem like they're on here. So we'll land at, where'd it go again? There it is. This tiny little airport here. If I can find it on the map. Oh, it's way to the east. But this airport will do. I'm gonna need to power down. I haven't wrecked in the last, well, I guess the 2 videos I had to delete over this past weekend. I didn't crash in either one of those, but I have no proof of that. Oh, this is a tiny airfield. I might be coming in too hot here. Oh, no, this should work. No, not gonna work. Not gonna work. Let's take off again. Maybe we can find their real airport. Let's clear these trees. There we go. Where the hell is this main airport? Alright, so where's halfway? I need to get some elevation here. Westfield. Let's look for Westfield. Okay, so I'm pretty far south of where I need to go for the airport. This map is giving me all sorts of problems trying to type in here. Sheffield Airport. You get just past Catcliffe, it looks like. I'm going east. I need to be going northwest. Actually, let's see. Where's Holbrook? About Sothall. Keeps changing on me. Yeah, I need to go northwest past Sothall, so probably more like this direction. About Orgreave. Where's that at? Whoa. Okay, I think that's on the right track. Yeah, it should be just past Orgreave. What happened to Orgreave? Oh, there it is. I don't see the airport. It's acting like it's not there. It's supposed to be Sheffield Airport. Right around here. I think I have autopilot on for some reason now. Nope. So Nebraska's up 18-10, so we're still looking good. Where in the hell is this airport? 19-10, back-to-back aces. There's Catcliffe. It's supposed to be literally right by Catcliffe. It's not in this game for some reason. Is that it right there? I think that's it right there. We're gonna at least try to land here, whatever it is. I think this is supposed to be where it is. I'm not trying to fly around 8 hours looking for another airport. So we're going to land here and call it the airport, and we'll just take off from somewhere near Sheffield next time. I swear this is where the airport should be. This is where we're going to land anyway. And we'll landing in this field. Close enough. I swear this is where it says the airport is on the real life map. But we are landed in Sheffield, and we will take off from an actual airport somewhere near Sheffield next time on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 World Tour. Closing out here, give you one more score update. It is Nebraska 21, Pittsburgh 13 in the third set. Nebraska looking for the sweep. I think they'll be able to get it. If they didn't, it was an epic collapse. But anyway, we'll see you next time on Microsoft Flight Simulator World Tour 22-13. All right. Bye. Signing out.